I love you guys.
Dance off, bro. I have the high ground.
Expecto Patronum!
39 days, 20 people, 1 survivor. Tribe of Nerds.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Matt, Michael, and I are here to conclude Australian Survivor with possibly the best season, Titans versus Rebels. We'll have to see by the end of it if we rank it that high. But yeah, we're going to cover a whole lot in this podcast. We're going to have some guests on. We're going to talk about all 24 episodes as we normally do. And this is part 1. This is the pre-merge, so the first 12 episodes. So get ready, and can't wait for you guys to listen to these parts. All right. So to get us started, Matt and Michael, what are your guys' impressions of like this cast and the season as a whole?
First off, like I say, I'm kind of sad today. We're wrapping up this Australian journey we've been on. It's been amazing going through Survivor Australia with you guys. And yeah, luckily we're ending it with a bang until the next season.
Yeah.
This, coming off the back of Heroes versus Villains, which was obviously a big high-profile season, huge players coming back, I was a little bit apprehensive coming into an all-newbie season. And this cast could be the greatest newbie cast of all time. Like, not just talking Survivor Australia, this cast just came to play so hard. And even the players that weren't necessarily great players were amazing content. You had like such a good mix of people on this cast, and everyone delivered something in the season. Yeah, this is a fantastic cast.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, even like any duds that are in this season, like they don't take away from how great the rest of the cast is. So
yeah.
Going off what Michael said, to me this feels like a season finale for us, because Australians, right? We've just done for about like almost 3 months, and now we're at I'm spoiler. This is the greatest season of Survivor to me. So you guys know where I'm going to be voting later on. And basically, going off what Michael said, after Heroes versus Villains, I was like, "There's no way it's going to be half as good." And this, to me, surpasses it. And also, as Michael said, I hate I stop going before me, man. You take all my points. As Michael said, this is the greatest newbie cast ever. Like, everybody came to play except for Tobias. So,
for the final one, if you want, we could switch it around. You go
no, it's fine. I'm always used to following you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we in the US sometimes we get like a great season and it's followed by a not so great season. Like US Heroes versus Villains had Nicaragua, which wasn't great. I mean, there's some other instances. Winners at War was followed by Survivor 41. So yeah, like it's been a mixed bag in the US, but luckily Australia was able to not have that, and we were able to have a great season off of a season with returnees.
Yeah,
this was not the Nicaragua of Survivor Australia.
Yeah. In fact, talking about this is, as you said, this is probably the best 2-season span ever in Survivor. We talked about this in the group chat. The only thing that I would probably put up to it is China and then Micronesia, because that's like the only two that are like very solid. But this just like blows it out of the water.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like, that's probably the only contender for that. I do like the original Blood versus Water and Cagayan as well, but I know that like there's some flaws with the original Blood versus Water. So yeah, that being a major one.
I feel like, especially like for a 24 episode season as well, to be so consistent across the board. Like we've talked about with Survivor Australia, that seasons can be great, but there's always lulls. This season, 24 episodes, and everyone delivers. I don't recall any episode where I was like, this one's a bit of a dud. They were all fantastic, and that's super rare in a 24 episode season.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's great that Australia always sticks with the themes, even if this one is like you look at the title and you're like, okay, what does this theme even mean? But
Champions
like,
versus contenders.
right, that's basically what it is again. But like I'd rather have these like weirdly named themes. Like they just work better than what US Survivor is giving us right now. So
Hell
um
yeah.
but let's get into it with our episodes. So episode 1 starts off, and we of course have our over the top amazing opening where everybody's on the boats and making faces at each other. So
But it's even better because the Titans are on one big boat and then all the rebels come in on a little speedboat
yes, yeah,
surrounding them.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So
yeah,
good.
it's really funny. And you get people's intro packages. And so I rewatched the pre-merge with my parents, and so when we're getting the intro packages and stuff, my dad's like, wow, everybody here is super cocky, and I had to be like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they've been told to play it up. So
Yeah, it's television.
yeah, exactly. So, but like as we talked about with Feras, like his of being like, how good he is, and just like it's really, really funny. So
What's also great about Ferris is we see the cocky side of him early on playing up, and then he becomes more humble and kind of emotional about the game, which is like a good development that we get for him throughout the entire season.
absolutely, absolutely. And obviously Ferris mentioning George as well, coming directly off of Heroes versus Villains, where George was literally the star of the season. So no, it's just a really fun follow-up to that. So any other thoughts on the opening in particular?
We have they ask what makes you a rebel, and we get our first introduction to Kelli, whose act of rebellion is standing on a bus with a no standing sign, which, when you talk about being a rebel, that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, yep. Oh boy, Kelli. So fun.
As Kelly says, they call her the no bullshit psychiatrist.
And she does not BS.
True.
Yeah, so we get to get everybody on the beach, and they have that opening challenge with the making the fire, as Australian Survivor tends to do with their opening challenges. Is it's usually so you can make fire fastest, swim out, get supplies and whatnot. So any thoughts on the opening challenge?
Well, Tobias, when they win the challenge, seems to miss the memo that this is also a social game, and he decides to
Yeah,
call the entire other tribe losers. So look, I mean, it never really comes back to bite him because it doesn't last long enough for it to matter. But yeah, not the best idea in a social game, Tobias.
is this also where JLP pats him on the back and says you're a machine?
Yeah. Speaking of the first challenge, I told you guys this in the group chat, but this is a hilarious moment to me when JLP goes, "Woman in the front in the pink shirt," and I showed you the exact image. There are 3 different women wearing a pink shirt. There's no way I would pick Kelli as the one that they were doing, because she has like more of a red shirt than pink. Before the first challenge, I also made a note of there was a great panning shot of all the Titans walking, and they look like gods, and then it just cuts to the rebels and Raymond's arms.
Oh yeah. There's so much to love here. So then we get to the camps, and which camp do we want to touch on first? Do we want to head to the Rebels or head to the Titans?
I think we go to Titans first
Yeah.
because
Okay.
we have Nathan running around taking control, and I had something the way he brings in, oh, what's the lady's name? Frankie.
Yeah.
He brings in Frankie and says that they can bring in Caroline because Caroline is someone who will always vote for them. How did you get that information? How did you get that read? You've just arrived on the beach and you suddenly know Caroline.
Yeah, I don't know what Nathan is thinking here.
And then not only that, like Nathan tells Caroline to her face, "Just follow us and we'll take you to the merge." It's like, what the fuck, dude?
Can we also mention how as much as Nathan and Frankie do end up aligning here, Frankie is like calling Nathan out during the challenge for like just trying to set everything on fire early, and just like
Yes.
that should have been her first clue that she shouldn't align with Nathan.
Yeah, he just disregards the entire tribe.
Yeah, it's like I'm not like that's going to be her demise here. Like is aligning with Nathan just because he's strong. So
Speaking of that, this is jumping a little bit into episode 2, but this is Nathan's confessional after Frankie goes. I adored Frankie. She was pretty hot. She's got a boyfriend though, and wouldn't let me sleep next to her, which is fair. It was only cuddling, and then it cuts to dead silence of just Nathan just there like a good 5 seconds. It's one of the worst confessionals I've seen.
I kind of enjoyed it. I don't know.
No, I mean Nathan as a person, like that's why he was his confessional. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna see from Nathan that he doesn't know what a dichotomy means at tribal, so we'll get to that. But yeah, is this we also get our introduction to Eden as well, of course, with talking about being the titan of pop culture and movies. So this was pretty exciting. This hooked me immediately into liking Eden and relating to him a little bit. So
and him and Mark Bond because they have the same Jurassic Park shirt.
Yeah.
What was it, Mark's wife that has it? Yeah.
I think it's his wife.
They bond about Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Eden has
like
one of the funniest intro videos.
So just on the Jurassic Park thing, they bond about it like it's like, oh my god, this crazy thing that we have in common. It's Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Everyone on the fucking planet has watched Jurassic Park.
One of the best movies ever. Oh, we're bonding over this? Wow.
Yeah, wow. It's like, have you ever seen this movie called Star Wars? I've seen Star Wars. What?
Wizard of Oz? What? Transformers.
The Avengers. All right. So anything else from the Titans, or we want to head to the Rebels a little bit?
Let's rebel it up.
All right.
I don't have anything, but I have this note, and I don't know which camp it is. But my note is weaving palm fronds isn't fucking worth it. If you're ever on Survivor, don't do that because it doesn't like do anything.
It looks nice though.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. I don't know. I'm just like, I always find it funny, like how you see the roles at camp in a lot of seasons is like the women get delegated to weave palm fronds most of the time, which is interesting. Like I don't normally see too many of the guys doing that. They usually do the heavy labor at building the shelter and whatnot. So
yeah, everyone reverts to archetypes when they arrive on Survivor, sadly.
Yeah, for better or for worse. Yeah, I don't quite remember anything initially at the Rebels camp. I mean, we do get the cuddle crew, I think, right? That's the main thing that we get from them. And Feras saying, initially he says the hardest part is the food, but he's like, no, somebody slapped me because it's actually the sleeping arrangements. And then he says that the cuddle crew is a very naughty sandwich. So
yeah, episode 1's a good introduction for Feras.
Oh, absolutely. So I mean, but I mean, other than that, I feel like there's not too much happening, but we get a good introduction to like Feras and kind of the dynamics that are going to happen in a couple episodes over there.
Speaking of intros to Feras, he had one of the first intros in this episode, and I wrote this note because I don't think he knows what human resources does. Because he said, I work in human resources, but I'm the person that manipulates emotions. I don't know how that works in Australia, but that's not what HR people do.
Yeah, I think it's about as far to the opposite of what a HR person should do. I also, there's a funny line when they're all trying to get to know each other. I can't remember who says it, but they say it about Peter. It's like, which one's Peter? So the CrossFitter with the... where is it? The CrossFitter with the big bum.
Oh, I didn't catch that. These people are crazy. All right, and then we have our first immunity challenge, which it's the one where they have to heave the ball up with the rope and roll it and hit like the vases off. And the Titans surprisingly struggle, but I think it's because they put a lot of their heavy lifters do they put them up? They don't put them up top where they should be. They put them down in the bottom.
No, they put them
They
up
put them
top.
up top.
They do.
Yeah,
Oh, they do put them up top.
It was
Okay.
mostly Jaden and Eden being the ones lifting the ball up.
But
Oh yes,
the
because
only job of the people on top is to just push the ball
Yeah.
right,
down
right,
a
right.
rolling hill.
Now I'm
It's
remembering.
like, why are they all up there?
Yeah, because then the people on the bottom are actually doing the pulling.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And-
crazy to me.
And then they fuck up even more with the Titans, where they get the rope tangled multiple times, so they have to take even more time out.
Yeah. It's absolutely crazy how bad they screw this up. But the Rebels do win the first immunity challenge, sending the Titans to Tribal Council. I guess another thing now at the Titans, we can also mention obviously the two Vs. We get introduction to them having an alliance, Viola and Valeria. So I would have liked to see more of this alliance. I mean, obviously they're also going to align with Mark, which is going to be huge. I would have liked to see more of them. Obviously, we don't because it ends up ending with Viola going way sooner than everybody expected.
Yeah.
Especially because she was hyped up preseason, and I think a lot of people really liked her. So
I thought 100% they were both making merge. There was no way she was going pre-merge. It's still shocking to me when I watch it, even though I know she leaves.
right.
It's the same, and then she even has the first intro of the entire season. So I was like, okay,
Yes.
here's a major player.
Yeah, absolutely. That's crazy to me. And yeah, so I mean, it seems like Jess is like the primary target, but then we get Eden and Mark saying, well, we should consider another option and take a shot at Frankie. And so this is pretty epic. Again, I think we mentioned it when we talked with Eden. Just like all the this is one of the most interesting first boots in the history of the show, because normally you don't get someone just immediately being targeted for being strong. So and especially in a game that is even more physical than US Survivor. Like Australian Survivor is the most physical Survivor's ever been, and they're willing to just take out someone that is physically fit right away.
It really goes against like the archetype of how this show goes, and again, just sets up what a great season this is, because people didn't come to play just the boring Survivor. They came to play hard, and this was exactly that. Nathan also pulls Kitty and Caroline aside and says that if you join us, we will carry you all the way through. Which, if you're trying to bring someone in, maybe don't use those words. It's not very inviting as an equal.
Yeah, you want to be more like, hey, let's work together to get this far.
I don't know. I think telling people that you're better than them and you're gonna be my minions. I think that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll get into this in episode 2 with Jess as well, but Jess is someone where I think she thinks she's in way more control than she actually is, and she isn't the one that caused this to happen. It's Eden and Mark that obviously made this all happen. So but yeah, we get to Tribal Council, and this is where we get the famous Nathan not knowing what a dichotomy is after Mark says it. So any other thoughts from this Tribal Council?
We also should mention Frankie found an idol, right? Or was that Peter
that was
on the other
PETA.
one?
That was PETA on the other side.
It was
See, this is the problem. The Titans and Rebels first Tribal Councils are both so identical in the kind of characters that go. Sorry, that's Peter. One thing before Tribal Council is the four muscle bros, or whatever you want to call them, were just chilling out in the ocean and somehow didn't see the entire rest of the tribe going off down the beach for a conversation, and somehow thought they were fine. I don't know if maths is their strong suit, but 4 does not equal a majority.
Yeah, for Brad Culpepper math being used right here. 4 into 8 does not work.
Even Scott Steiner couldn't make that work.
Yeah, that's right. See, what those muscle bros needed was Alex from the other tribe, because he's a maths teacher. So he could have helped them realize, don't form a minority. Wait, Alex did do that.
Yeah, wait, Alex did still do that. Oh my God. Oh no. Poor Alex.
We'll be seeing that a lot this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we get to the votes. Eden does call Frankie a Terminator, so there's one of his movie references. We should point out all of Eden's movie references as we go. Um, and yeah, Frankie is taken out in an 8-4 vote, correct? With Winna, Jaden, and Nathan being left out of the vote. So,
I
any
do
other
think Frankie had
thoughts?
potential. It's like she was an
Mhm.
interesting player from the short time we saw her, and yeah, sadly she was way overconfident.
Yeah, I mean, if we were gonna like look at the first boots in Australian Survivor history, I think she probably is one of the better first boots where she
I'd say
actually,
easy the best. If you discount All Stars, where like a winner
Yeah.
goes home first, but
well,
like
yeah, I mean, I
oh no,
guess,
oh sorry, Andy.
I was waiting for that. I was like, it
yeah,
was right there, man.
Andy. So the top three is Andy, Shane Gold, and Frankie.
Yes,
I mean, that's a pretty good class of first boots.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, I have a soft spot just because I think he's hilariously bad as Des Quilty from season one, but he was just a terrible player. But him calling himself a Kung Fu Panda in episode one is always gold. All right. Moving into episode two. This is where we get that tug of war reward challenge. I also I also wanted to point out once the Titans do win this challenge, this is where Eden accidentally drops Mark. Like you can see in the
yes, yes,
background.
yes. It's so funny. Just drops him right in his ass.
Any other thoughts from this challenge?
I liked it.
Um,
I just thought it was a good twist. Like they don't know what they're playing for.
Right.
Like you find out after each tug of war. So I thought that was something cool.
Yeah.
This is also where we get Eden shouting, "Are you not entertained?"
Yes, the gladiator
It's a
reference. Yes.
fantastic moment from him.
Yep, second movie reference there. Yeah. And oh, and then what? You also get a little bit of a moment from a lot of celebration from Charles as well, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was Charles and Eden who were the ones who won the final one.
Yeah. Yep.
One thing before we got to that challenge, though, in the early part of the episode, we get Mark. It was the first time I was like, I really like Mark as a player, where he really fluffs up Jess's ego and it's like,
Yes.
you
Yes.
played this move, this was you, well done, and Jess really runs with that, and it's her undoing, and that's the invisible hand at work right there.
Absolutely.
I have the exact same note. Mark does a good job of gassing up Jess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I love when players are smart enough to just like notice who is being the most egotistical and just like puff them up so that they can be, easy targets. So
Yeah. Before this challenge, there were a couple other things I wanted to talk
yeah,
about.
yeah, absolutely.
Mostly Alex with Kelli is, and then it just trails off for like 5 seconds, and then it goes to another confessional. She'd even talk underwater with her mouth full of marbles. I was like, wow, Alex. And then somehow Sarah was a major focal point for like 7 minutes on the Rebels Beach. I don't know why that was a choice, but
Yeah, Sarah was someone that I actually thought, like in these first couple episodes and even into like the next couple, I thought she was going to be the last one standing in the cuddle crew. I thought she was going to go decently far into the game, and that just didn't end up being the case. So, I don't know why I thought that, but the show certainly wanted to highlight her for those 7 minutes. So,
Yeah, seems like a sweet girl, but she wasn't cut
Yeah.
out for this game.
exactly,
yeah. Anything else before we head into the immunity challenge?
They won the bananas. And
Oh,
then
yes,
Winna
yes, yes.
Winna almost chokes on the idol clue.
He almost broke his teeth. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I think it's crazy that they hit an idol in a banana. Like my dad's watching
It
that.
is wild.
Yeah. How did they get that in the banana? I'm like, I have no idea, Dad.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it was just like I never look at a banana after I've opened it, so I don't
Yeah.
know
Also,
what they're thinking.
These people are hungry. There was every chance Winner would just hoy that banana straight down, and he's going to be in hospital within a couple of days.
Well, and he's a competitive eater, so he's used to.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, we get his intro package, and
Yes.
maybe this is harsh, but it really made me sad for the world. I hate all this influencer stuff. I was just like, oh God, it makes me feel old. I think that's the biggest issue here. It just makes me feel so old.
I mean, technically, I feel like we're kind of influencers.
No, this is way different.
I don't influence anyone.
Yeah, same here. Neither do I.
that's-
In fact, I do the opposite.
Yeah, I guess we're more entertainers than influencers.
Yeah, we are like Eden.
I'll take that.
Yeah, no, I like Winna. We thought he was going to be an even bigger presence on the season though, because of this, and you know, he has his moments, of course, but not as relevant to the season as I thought.
Yeah, well, it's his fault for having Win in his name, but he should have changed his name to Runner Up, and then he could have gotten taken to the finals.
Yeah, Rana.
Yeah.
All right. Then yeah, the immunity challenge. Which one is this again?
Net obstacle course, and then hold coconuts, where they toss into the coconut bag.
Okay. Yep. And this is where the rebels once again win immunity and send the Titans right back to tribal council. Oh yeah,
It was
so
a really impressive win where you have Jaden and who was the other one on the
Viola.
holding the coconuts,
Yeah.
and the rebels win. Feras manages to beat them out. Who was the other one on that challenge? Sorry,
Maybe Tobias, because he wasn't probably doing
it was
anything.
Viola.
I said that.
Yeah.
It was
sorry, I
Jaden,
didn't mean to say that.
Jaden Viola.
Jaden and Viola.
Yeah.
And yeah, the rebels managed to beat them. It's insane. It's a pure like physical challenge, and they beat them. And that's
Well,
what
it
annoys
just
me.
depends on if you can get the coconuts into the net.
Well,
That's true.
and now that I'm remembering that, so like Viola and Jaden are also like at one point they're like trying to swing the net around to avoid like coconuts going in.
And then you hear Jaden's laugh.
Yeah,
Such a great laugh.
Yeah, Jaden's laugh is going to be iconic throughout the season.
Such a great character.
Well, he has a good laugh. Outside of that, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. So then the Titans get back to camp, and it seems now that Jess is throwing out Eden's name all of a sudden because she's trying to make another move because she thinks she's in power. And like as a fan watching it for the first time and already having this connection to Eden, I'm like, I thought Eden was gonna be this huge player. Luckily it still is, but I was really, really nervous for Eden here that all of a sudden people were gonna get big move-itis and turn on him, and I was gonna be really sad if that happened.
Yeah, I think it's the benefit of having the edit versus being out there playing, where Jeff just doesn't see all this stuff that was going on behind the scenes. So she just has an opinion of where she is within the tribe, and the reality is completely different. And the fact is, she was saved by these people, and now she's trying to turn them on each other. And it's like, we just saved you. What are you doing?
Yeah, this was such a bad move on her part. Like, maybe she's thrown under the bus by them anyway, but she just accelerates the process here. So
exactly.
So yeah, and then we get to tribal, and it goes so far as Jess even saying a bunch of things out in the open that it makes the entire tribe react, and it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, when she was talking so openly, I thought she'd get on with Alex.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like she. Who knows who would have had the worst voting record, Jess or Alex? But if she lasted longer,
captain season we need to see.
Anything else from this tribal council?
Not the tribal council, but in the run up to it, Nathan is trying to say that they need to vote out the physically weak because they need strength for the tribe after losing a challenge which was purely based on strength.
Yeah.
It's like, your argument doesn't really hold up.
Yeah. And doesn't Eden also throw a vote on Nathan here? Yeah.
Throw a vote.
Yes, so he gets some votes on Nathan here just to like make sure in case Jess does have an idol that he's not the one going home.
Yeah.
So very smart move. All right, our first guest is here. So let's let them in.
Who is it?
Well, I see the name.
We've got a rebel in our midst.
Yeah, no video though.
Oh,
Now some mute. Okay.
Yeah, it's Kelli.
we have Kelli.
Yeah.
Hello.
There she is.
Hi, Kelli.
Hi.
Hey
Welcome.
guys, how are you?
Good. How are
All right.
you?
We're fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm in beautiful Australia, so I thought I'd sit outside in Queensland.
It's awesome. Yeah,
I don't blame
welcome.
I'm in rainy England, so you're definitely winning.
And I got my buff on, look.
It's amazing.
Rebels buff and the bag.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, welcome to the Tribe of Nerds, Kelli. We're really excited to have you. And to start off, asking you some questions. So, when did you start watching Survivor, and how did you get on the show in the first place?
You want the truth?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Sure.
When production said to me, Kelli, you really need to watch some Survivor shows. Please watch something about Survivor, please. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'll watch a couple of episodes of King George. So I watched the last 4 episodes of him when he got voted off. And yeah, that was when I watched Survivor.
Okay.
I mean, I did watch it years ago with Johnny Fairplay, the first 3 episodes, but you know, I was like, oh gosh, they're eating weird stuff. Oh no, I don't want to watch this anymore. But clearly it's improved since then.
Yeah, it's way different. The game has evolved.
Yes, it's actually a proper, it's a different game. It's not just a bunch of people on an island, you know, doing shit.
So we were wondering, what was your relationship with Raymond like throughout your time on the island? Because obviously you will make this big stand for Raymond towards the end of your time there.
Oh, I think she has a
Yes,
shirt.
well,
Yeah.
clearly have the shirt. Clearly have the shirt still. Look, Raymond's a beautiful, quirky man. And I just had an instant attraction to that. And that's probably the psychologist in me. I just love different people. So, you know, he was trying to find his feet those first few days, and a few people weren't exactly gelling to him. And I just thought, he's one of my guys. So I will gel with him and Ray's a bit like a big kid, and so am I. And we just like got on famously, and he's a really intelligent man, even though he says, no, I'm not. He's really smart. And we had lots of intellectual conversations, but for the most part, Ray was lovely because he knew he knew I didn't understand the mechanics of the game, as in, you know, what's a buff and you know, what's all this stuff. So, you know, Ray was like, Cal, this is the buff and this is this. And I'm like, oh, what's merge? Oh, yeah, I heard about merge, you know. But, I mean, you know, I played it dumb quite a lot. But Ray was great. And we just had lots of fun. And he would do things with me like Twister, you know. It wasn't hard to twist his arm, whereas everyone else, you know, had to really twist their arm, you know, to play. Whereas Ray was like, I'll play Twister with you, Cal. And I'm like, great, we're on an island, why not? So, yeah, Ray's my special man, and we still talk. You know, I just adore him, as you could tell. That's why I wanted to save him as well. So, and he's just, I don't know, he's just a very special person. So, you know, you do form these incredible relationships on the island that very fast. And, you know, Ray was just weird, and I love weird. So, you know.
Awesome. Well, speaking of that and weird people, what was your relationship with like Alex? Because on the show that we saw, it looked like a love-hate type of thing. So what were your feelings towards Alex?
Yeah, I respected Alex for his ability to be strong, you know. But I mean, he's a 5-year-old man or something, you know, he should be strong. But he does. He climbs mountains and he does all sorts of things, and I really respected him for that. But Alex is someone that needs a bit of wisdom under his belt, a bit of maturity, and I could just see that he just thought he knew everything, and he was trying to be the boss of the tribe, and it just wasn't going to happen, and I wasn't about to let that happen as well. But he realized very quickly that he had no footing. So yeah, I just put him in his place, and I quite liked doing that. So
is there a reason why you chose to save Alex instead of Tobias when you flipped your vote?
Yeah, look, the dynamics, you know, are you've got to really watch all the dynamics on the island. And I was getting very concerned about the dynamics between Tobias and Sarah. And I knew that relationship was going to continue to become very strong. And no one wants a couple early in the game. No one wants that. And, so Tobias was a beautiful man, like incredible man, but he was a dark horse, whereas Alex is just like a little teenager horse, you know, whereas Tobias was the mature horse. You know what he called it, a gelding or something? That was Alex, and I thought I could probably work with Alex, but unfortunately the edit didn't show everything. But Alex caught me, Feras, Kirby, and Ray talking about what I did, and now we can have Alex on our side and we can manipulate him, so to speak. And he was hiding and he heard us talking, so then he got pretty angry. So yeah, I thought I could work with Alex a bit more, and because he really didn't come out socially that strong, whereas Tobias, he was doing things, he was consistent, and he was also a couple. And I called him the top of the triangle because Alex and Sarah really didn't have that relationship. He had a relationship with Sarah and he had a relationship with Alex. So he was the top of the triangle. So once I blew that top of the triangle off, then they blew apart.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, good to know.
Yeah, whereas if I took out Alex, Sarah and Tobias are still very strongly aligned. So taking out the top of the triangle is the only way to go. So yeah.
Good move.
So I disobeyed my tribe.
Certainly
it works for you. It works for you.
Yeah, it's certainly made for a fun moment. And speaking of fun moments, so we get to the episode where you get sent to sabotage the other tribe. And so after being voted to the Titans, what was that like? And at what point did you decide not to sabotage them?
Look, I had enough of this kind of battle with Alex trying to blame me for everything that happened with the challenges, which was just his way of trying to deflect anything. He was so threatened by me, so it was his way of trying to deflect everything onto me and try and manipulate the tribe into seeing, which they knew differently. But so I was a bit sick of it, and I know that I'm a very social person, that people like me. They didn't know I was a psychologist, but I knew I was a psychologist. So I know that I can get information out of people, which I did. I got lots of information out of people, and I didn't tell my tribe anything. I learned where the alliances were, and I knew that at some point Ray had also said to me how many moves he thought it was going to be to merge, and I knew at some point those people, a lot of them were going to be at merge. So I wanted to create some quiet, nice alliances with them. And I acted dumb. So this is what's really great about my whole persona, was that I was stupid on the island, and it worked so successfully, because when I came back, they were like, well, what are you doing? And they just saw me as impulsive and stupid. So that's how I got away with it. See? And they were annoyed with me, but not enough to vote me off because they thought I was a conspirator or anything. They just thought I was stupid. So it works really well. And I love sport, and I always believe may the best person win. So I've got a little bit of that in the back of my mind. But they're really nice people. I like the Titans. So I was like, nah, I'm just going to let the Rebels and the Titans battle it out, and may the best person win, because I was in a pretty good position either way. So it didn't matter if I went back to the Titans or not. But I knew that I was going back to the Rebels, but I wasn't sure whether there was going to be another twist. You know, you don't know in this game. There's twists everywhere. And so, so I just wanted to keep it cushy on both ends. And I knew I'd developed enough relationships with the Rebels to take that risk of not sabotaging the Titans. And people just thought it was a dumb move on my behalf. And that's exactly how I wanted it to be.
Yeah, it certainly made for some funny moments.
So you end up going out by defending Raymond, as we talked about, and your exit episode is one of the best episodes of Survivor I've seen. Kind of talk about your exit and how do you feel about your response to you coming out of this season on social media and everything?
Look, I played the character that I wanted to play in real life to try and help people feel more comfortable. I never put myself in a really big position of authority. Even as a psychologist, I never do that. I put myself as an equal with people. But in Survivor, I knew I had to even put myself below a lot of these people because, you know, most of them, the cohort of people is age range 24 to 29, you know, so I knew that there's a very strong connection with people of similar age. So I had to play it very differently. You know, getting voted out, I'm not stupid. I knew it was coming. I mean, I just tried to, you know, flip. It would have been wonderful if Feras's mob would have let me do it. It would have been so fantastic. I just don't see why they didn't let me do it. But anyway, it would have been wonderful. But Ray said to me, Kel, we really got to find an idol. And I said, I know, Ray, but I'm pretty sure there's not going to be an idol. I'm pretty sure they're exhausted. Everyone else has found idols. But we kind of went into the bush a bit aimlessly. But, you know, I was sad. I'm not going to say that I wasn't because once you're in the game, I mean, this game is the most, like, you cannot be part of a better game, I don't think. Maybe there is other games that are on TV, but in Australia, Survivor is the greatest game, the greatest social experiment, and I really didn't want to leave it. I did want to get to merge, and I was obviously that close by a whisper. But, you know, when someone goes like me, because I'm a very big character and I have a big personality, so when someone goes, the dynamics change. And I always believe that things happen for a reason, and I needed to leave that game so that other dynamics could be, you know, created in that game. So, and that's probably what we saw, you know, was those dynamics start to come out. So, you know, my exit was, my speech was very prepared in my mind. You know, some people are blindsided, but I just knew it was pretty obvious, you know, because you can tell body language of people and you can read them in the camp and suddenly they're like acting a little bit weird, but they don't think they're acting weird towards you. So I knew. So did my speech, and that was my priority. And I don't know about snuffing this torch business. I mean, like, hello. How many times I've watched Survivor? Not many. And then, so, you know, I love my exit, and watching their faces when I said I'm a psychologist was fantastic. So, yeah, and I can't tell you how much I love this game. It was one of the best experiences of my life, and it is life-changing, and no matter what anyone says out there, the critics can hammer me, which they did afterwards, and I just said it was the most fantastic edit. They did exactly what they were meant to do. They played my character beautifully on TV, and I played my character, and I think that the audience saw that, and I'm really happy with my overall edit. And people who criticised me, well, what does that matter? You're going to get criticism everywhere. So critics are going to exist in life, and you've got to learn to live with that. Or why would you be on Survivor? Why would you put yourself on national TV in front of all these millions of people if you're not going to be criticised? So I didn't care. Like, I didn't worry, and I don't worry in life about what people think about me. I teach my clients that every day. So I wasn't worried about it. It was pretty full on. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but you know what? I'm here, I'm smiling, and those people, you know, whoever they are, I don't even know who they are.
You were fantastic entertainment, so I don't think you should worry about that. You were amazing.
Exactly.
You've muted yourself, Kelly.
Yeah.
inviting me from across the world, and that's what's so beautiful. I've made some beautiful friendships across the world, and they wrote to me and said, "We love you, Kelly. You know, you guys are one of them. Noel, one of you wrote to me early on in the game, and it was people like you that was the reason why I think I love Survivor so much, is because people who really honestly love the game obviously appreciated the unusual and chaotic moves that I did, you know, and it created entertainment and joy. And Johnny Fairplay said to me, "Kel, don't watch Survivor. Don't ever watch it, because if you ever get on the show again, we want you to be exactly as chaotic, having no clue what you're doing, just getting out there and doing whatever you feel like." And I think he's right.
Yeah, I think Fairplay is definitely right. I think you just need to go out there again and be yourself again.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know it's early there in the morning in Australia. Well, I have one more question before you have to go. When you think about Survivor and you close your eyes, what do you see?
I see the most beautiful experience of my life, living on that island with really nothing. And people think, and I read lots of stuff online, and people actually think that we have stuff. People really believe that. And I see a beautiful island with incredible people, all very strong in their own right, but such peace. Living on an island with nothing, no mobile phones, no distractions, no children demanding from you, you know, no nothing, just a group of people, a lot of fun and peace. It was absolutely incredible.
Awesome.
I think I can honestly say the best experience of my life, besides having my children. I've got to keep saying that.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, before you go, Kelly, if people want to follow you on social media, where can they follow you?
So I'm a Pocket Rocket. That's my nickname. So it's Pocket Rocket Kel, 1L. So Pocket Rocket Kel is on Instagram, and on Facebook, it's Rebel Kel. And you'll be able to see me holding my torch and JLP evicting me or snuffing my torch from the tribe. So yeah, Pocket Rocket Kel Instagram. And I try and have a lot of fun, and I try and have lots of fun on Instagram. So yeah, I'm not a bad person to follow.
Well, thank you for doing this, for popping on
thank
again.
you.
Because I met you in person at one of Fairplay's parties in Los Angeles, and you were super entertaining. You singing the Rebel Kel song live was yeah, I took a video of you. Yep, it was amazing.
You videoed me, and I love that you videoed me, because I didn't get a video, and my voice was bad, and the song, and I can't sing for nothing. And that's what Ray said to me. Ray said to me, because he was the one that did the music, he said to me, "Kel, I'm going to be honest, you're not going to get an aria." I don't care. I'm just whoop, 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 all the way through that song in my mind. So, but the words are very important. The words were like what was real for me. So anyway, guys, I loved meeting you, and I loved America, and I think Americans rock, and I think the world rocks, but I think Americans are so much fun, and the Survivor fans of America were just so welcoming to me. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. And thank you for inviting me on your podcast. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on, Kelly.
Whoop, whoop.
Thanks, Kelly.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
All right, that was awesome. Kelly
and
gave
the British are pretty cool too.
Yes.
I don't know. I think they're okay.
How amazing was that?
Yeah, that was really good. That was a really fun talk with Kelly. I think she gave some interesting insight into kind of where her place was on the tribe and everything. And like we said, she just needs to be herself if she gets brought back. And I could definitely see her playing again. Like they want to cast characters as well as big players. So
yeah, and I'm with Johnny. Don't watch an episode. Just go out there and be Kelly.
I was about to say that. Exactly. That was a great advice from Johnny. Just don't watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I forgot about them playing Twister. That was another fun little character moment in the episode.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so we got through the Jess boot, now into episode 3, and this is where we get to see the rebels take their shot at the like cuddle crew of their tribe. And so anything fun from this episode before we get to the immunity challenge and the tribal?
Yes. I have
Yeah.
a bunch of notes, but I'll let Michael go first.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the beginning of the middle-aged mafia.
Yes.
Um,
Yep.
I also just had a note that Eden is just such a fun player to watch. Like,
Mhm.
he's just so entertaining, and his confessionals are great. And we talked about at the beginning, this cast is just fantastic, and we see that every single episode.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. My notes are this is Kirby's first confessional during the season, which I
Yeah.
found a little bit surprising, especially with how big of a character she would. Well, I guess it's kind of fair because most of the time was spent on Titans, so
Yeah. I think it was more, that the Titans went to the first two tribals, and so like giving Kirby her time when the Rebels are actually going to be more relevant in the story makes sense.
Yeah,
So
and speaking of the Titans, my first note is Viola says that it would be fun if Valeria was reading out the votes, and I think that would be fun. I think when Jeff Probst retire, let's bring Valeria over and have her be the host.
or do Survivor Russia.
Well, I've heard a lot of bad things about it, so I don't know. Maybe.
No, but I mean, is this where also Viola and Kitty or Caroline, they ask Jaden to bench press them, or is that in a couple episodes? I can't remember, but
I don't remember.
I
Okay.
don't have it.
well, that
I don't
happens.
It does happen. I saw it. So
Yeah.
it does happen.
Yep. And yeah, there is a reward challenge as well in this episode.
Yeah, this is where Mark shows that he's a dolphin.
Yes,
Because they have to swim out of the cage.
Yeah, was very impressed with Mark's performance. So
Yeah, and then the Titans win a food basket, which is such bullshit because it's unlabeled food.
oh yeah, this is where like they get all the cans, and like Jaden gets like the big can because he's the big guy, and like Mark's like, doesn't he like
I'll take this big. Yeah. Jaden wants the spam because everybody knows it's gonna be spam. But Mark's like, how about I give the big one to the big guy?
Yeah.
And then Mark's like, I'll just take the spam.
Yep, and it turns out to be a can of peaches. So
Millions of
So
peaches.
nice.
Peaches for me.
And then we hear from the Cuddle Crew that they're going to throw the challenge because that always works in Survivor.
Especially when you're in the minority.
Yeah. This
would-
might be the first time ever that a minority has thrown a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I guess,
Truly.
but like there's I mean, as opposed to like one person doing it that's just like blowing up their own game, like I think of like Drew Christie doing it in San Juan del Sur, where it's just hilarious because he's just blowing up his own game. But yeah, a minority alliance that is the minority, like the audience knows is the minority. I probably agree that this is one of the first times.
And then before they decide to do that, PETA finds the idol.
Yes, PETA finds the idol, which I definitely was not expecting what happens to her at the like end of the episode in terms of her not playing that. I'm just shocked that they really were that confident in everything. So
Yeah, she had no idea.
yeah.
In the immunity challenge that they throw, Jaden kicks over the puzzle at the end. So
Yeah.
his name is now Jaden Fitzgerald.
Yes.
There you
Yep.
go.
Yep. The
Jaden.
Michelle.
J-Fitz.
Yeah. Very fun. But yeah, it's just like also the Rebels are like very clearly noticing, especially Garrick, of being like, we know we can push this. Like very clearly something is wrong here.
Like, I smell a rat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so good.
And then the rebels almost come from behind, and you can just see Alex laughing in the background. Like, what the hell, guys?
Yeah. It's really funny. So the Rebels lose immunity finally. After
Sorry. There is one note from the immunity challenge. It's probably my only Tobias note. He starts helping the rebels solve the puzzle, and then he goes, "Why am I helping?"
Oh dear.
Okay, well, that's probably his only like funny one of his only funny moments in the season, other than JLP calling him a machine. So all right, so and him calling everyone losers. Like that's it. But all right, so the Rebels do lose immunity, and we get back to camp. and the PETA, Alex, Tobias, Sarah alliance believe that they're going to be splitting the votes between Ray and Kelli, right? And this is where Kirby comes alive, and we see Kirby and Rihanna plan to vote along with the split vote so that they can make like Alex's group after the fact think like they can still like maybe work with them in the future. So
we also get Kelli being told to kind of play up like she's going, and my note was that Kelli gives her best Tommy Wiseau performance, where she acts and does way too much, in Ferris's words.
Isn't this where she like loudly meditates and asks for Scott to come over and comfort her?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then this is also where she asks Feras, "Can you hold me?" And then he does while eating the beans.
Yes. Yep. It's so funny. My favorite Kelli moment, I think, is going to be in a couple episodes. So, but yeah, so then PETA remarks that she will bring the idol to tribal and will play it if she even feels like she might go home. But we get to tribal, and probably the best moment of the tribal is that Alex is saying if he had an idol, he might play it, and you have Feras saying that someone needs to be made an example out of. And so it's just so funny because like if someone says that, I would definitely be thinking like I might need to play my idol, because like I don't know what else that line could be for. Like are they really thinking that like Ray and Kelli have been super overconfident?
I guess so.
I guess. But yeah, I mean I guess it's like the conflicting like messages that makes PETA not play her idol, and she's just that confident. So
yeah.
But
I had one thing on this with Kirby planning to play the middle and vote with the minority to keep faith with them. I feel like Kirby was with the other side. Like she was doing this just to curry favor. I feel like this could have all been avoided between Feras and Kirby if she just filled them in on that. Like if you went to Feras and said, look, we have the numbers, I'm going to still vote with them just so I still have lines of communication open with the minority, Feras would have been so cool with that. And it makes total sense. But the fact that Kirby and Rihanna do this just of their own volition without any explanation, it kind of forces that distrust between them right from the beginning. So I feel like communication there would have been like the best bet for Kirby and Rihanna.
Oh, absolutely. This was I think a little bit of a misplay for sure on Kirby's part, but she's that good where she's still able to recover and end up working her way back into things. So but and yeah, so PETA goes home with the idol in her pocket. I think you also get Raymond's vote. I think is a reference to Family Guy with the Lois Griffin PETA. So that's great. So
Raymond is great.
Yeah, it's I think Raymond does a lot of other like funny, like at one point I will get to where he writes down Kirby's name later on, where he puts Kirby, like the Nintendo character, on the parchment. So yeah, anything else here as PETA gets blindsided with an idol in her pocket?
Just she's the second woman in Australian Survivor to go home with an idol after Johnny the previous season.
Yep. Yeah, that's crazy to me that that she was only the second woman. And I think just in general, men in Survivor are more likely to go home with an idol in their pocket. So it's happened way more.
Yeah. I hate to do that.
Yeah. Poor Michael.
Move on, Jake. Move on.
Yeah, move on. All right, episode 4. This is, of course, the box episode. We talked to Feras about this pretty extensively, so definitely go check out that interview as well. But yeah, so this is where Feras is going to end up finding that box idol. I did notice as well, because when my parents and I were watching it, I noticed there were a lot of keys So I didn't know if they placed all of those keys to all open that box, but that like it would get people out and searching for it. Like I assume that's why they gave them multiple keys to begin with.
I guess so. Yeah, it's kind of like the one in All Stars where they Nick ended up getting it.
Yeah, the Pandora's box. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like that.
Yeah, it's a good twist. I mean, I think this is, I think really this and Heroes versus Villains, like they really figured out how to create mostly really good twists. And so this just made a lot of sense to do something like this. So, and of course, in the box is the idol and a key for the other tribe, which, as we learned from Feras as well, he lost the key. So.
And they made him open the parchment right there and then, which is also unfair, and it kind of backfired on him.
Yeah, because I mean, again, I don't even think, because Feras got his name written down like by the Cuddle Crew because of this happening. So like because of this idol mishap. So with that not happening, I don't even know if he gets his name written down until the final 6. So.
And then not only did production screw him by making him read that, he also said in Shannon's deep dive that production told him he had to give the key to Titan, because Feras wanted to keep it in case if there was a swap. But they're like, no, you have to give the. I was like, that's kind of like a broken mechanic. It's like I don't think the production really thought this one through.
Yeah. So I mean, it ended up working out on the show. But like, yeah, I think they should have obviously let them like have the different options of what they wanted to do with this twist. And if they wanted to create a relationship or an alliance with the other side, or if they wanted to save it to try to get it for themselves. Like, I think both options should be perfectly allowed.
And if Mark's just going to punch it open anyway, let Feras have his key.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Well, he lost it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all mute.
Yep. I know the immunity challenge was, of course, dodgeball, which is an interesting challenge.
Yeah. Kirby was a beast. She was just catching all the balls.
Yeah. One thing I noticed is that catching the balls, you don't get someone out by catching the balls, which I guess makes sense in this case that you have to hit people to get them out. But like normal dodgeball rules would be if you catch it, that person is out. So, oh well.
This is Survivor. It's not dodgeball.
Yeah, it's Survivor. You're right. So the Titans do win again, and we get the Rebels going back to Tribal Council. And this is also the episode where Eileen gets her breakout episode. So
she gets her intro as well, and
yeah. So, and Eileen's a fun player to watch this season. I mean, particularly her working with Feras, and just like I appreciate having a strategic woman on this too, and like it's just really, really cool to have like multiple strategic women. That we have Eileen, we have Kirby. It's really good.
Yeah, I wish we saw more of Eileen, because what I saw of her game I really liked, but sadly we just didn't see a great deal of it in comparison to others. But yeah, I really like Eileen, and this is where she comes up with the split board plan, which in her words is foolproof.
Yeah, foolproof, not Kelly proof though.
It's not Kelly proof.
So what was it? She has to teach Kelly the ABCs. B is for blindside, and A is for Alex, I think.
Such a good professional.
Yeah. So yeah, they're gonna split it between Tobias and Alex, with the intention of sending Alex home, which is like interesting. Again, such a physical game, and you're gonna be willing to split it on like 2 of your stronger physical players. So this is just very, very interesting, and so just again shows how good this season is. But
yeah, I love it. Physical challenges don't matter. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
they don't.
That just reminded me, after the Rebels see Frankie has gone after the first episode, Feras is like, oh, why would they vote out the strongest person? I don't know what's going on in that camp.
And then they do that.
Yeah, then they do that. And my other note for this episode was a Alex confessional. There's no way this happens to me 2 times in a row as he refers to being blindsided. And yep.
It's gonna happen more than 2 times in a row to him.
It's kind of odd how confident he is going into this as well. It's like you were in the minority. You're still in the minority. Why are you assuming everything's okay now?
I don't know. That's confusing to me. Like
fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you again.
Yeah, if I'm left out of a
fool
vote,
me 17 times.
Yeah.
I think I may be onto something.
Yeah, if I'm left in on the outs of a vote, I am not just gonna be confident that everything is gonna be okay. I'm going to I'm going to assume that I need to do something to try to change that. So
no way. What a crazy thought.
Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, and so we go into the split vote tribal. I think everybody watching assumes that it's going to be Alex. And Tobias thinks he's completely safe tonight, so he doesn't want to talk strategy with anybody.
Always a good move. Always a good move.
Yeah. And we see Tobias go home because Kelli switches her vote and sends him out. So yeah.
Yeah. My only note on him is every time I think of Tobias, I see Commander Steve because he's that much of a NPC.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And luckily, Tobias got sent home way earlier than Commando Steve. So
I just want to say on this board out, we talked in the last episode how great production was in terms of like sound cues and everything they do to make the show look and sound amazing.
Yes.
There's a fantastic element in this vote where as Kelli is getting up to vote, you hear Eileen's voice reverberating in the background saying, "Vote Alex." It's foolproof, and it's just such a lovely little touch that just makes it fantastic.
Yeah, top tier editing, absolutely. Really enjoyed this, and yeah, then like the final words of Tobias leading to like showing the votes and Kelli being like the last one, I think, to show like that she's the one who did it. Obviously, like it's just so good. Yeah, and this is gonna lead into this is where Kelli gets so many moments to shine. And this leads to the episode 5 aftermath of Tobias going home. Sarah just lost her showmance right before her birthday. And this is where we get Kelli's apology to Sarah with a poem that she can't remember.
Yeah. Which is always like, and then the background music. And this
the piano music, the sad piano music.
Chef's kiss.
It's so good. It's just, and Kelli starts crying and just like, if like I know we know Kelli meant well, but it's just so funny because it's not a good apology.
And it's on Sarah's birthday, and the fact that she says as she's walking away after trying to comfort her, she just says, "I think I did the right thing."
Oh, this is such one of my favorite moments of the entire season. Absolutely. So then we are going to have that reward that ends up happening, and we do like get to see the rebels get like celebrate Sarah's birthday and get like photos from home and everything. And of course Feras still has the same smile that he did as a kid.
Yes.
And then
slight note on Feras as well. We just didn't mention the last episode is when he plays his idol and he takes his shirt off and says, "I'm feeling hot." So yeah,
it's such an iconic moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I didn't want to miss that either. So yeah, we get the immunity challenge.
Before we get there, I want to talk about this reward ALL. I liked this challenge where it's 1v1 and you have to knock off 2 idols.
Yes.
Kirby shows great strategy by losing one of her idols so she can get 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also love this moment when they were seeing the pictures and Kirby says, "I thought I was a boy until I was 7. I'm a visual learner," and then I saw the difference.
Yeah. You also have Raymond trying to get popcorn in his mouth and Feras and Alex being like, his mouth is huge. Is this also where it's Feras beats Jaden in the challenge and then also isn't it Raymond versus Charles, and Charles is wearing the Untitled Goose Game shirt.
Yep. And then they were just talking. Then they were just talking, before they even played.
Yeah, that was a great moment. So, just like these small moments that just like let us know who the characters are, the players are, and just like what they do. Like it's just so good. All right, so then we get to the immunity challenge, and this is the one where Kelli ends up slowing them down, and I think you get Garrick being like, she's so useless.
Yes.
Well, in Kelly's defense, she has a low center of gravity.
Yeah, yep.
And then she couldn't do the bridge because, as she says, it's hard on the bridge. It's wobbly.
Which one of us wants to do the amazing GLP line?
You can't because you.
Yes, go for it. Go for it.
We also have GLP saying both boys just furiously whacking away at their logs, busting nut after nut.
Yes, busting nut after nut. It's so funny. Also we forgot to mention, just real quick, Garrick going up to Kirby after like they know that she's the one that didn't, did their own thing at the PETA tribal, and Garrick being like, you just made me cry, or you made me want to go cry or something. Isn't that what he says? Where he's trying to go up. I think that happened in a previous episode. That's a note I remember. Anyway, so the Rebels do lose this challenge that ends up leading to the infamous non-elimination round where Kelli is gonna get sent to go sabotage. But we also have other plans going around. Kirby initially wants to gun for Feras here now, and then Alex ends up going up to Feras and like spilling everything to him, with Kirby trying to shush him in the background. And and then Feras wants to get rid of Rihanna to weaken Kirby. So it comes down to that, something big might happen, and instead we get this non-elimination, still just as good, because then you get people openly talking at tribal council about Kirby says they can't send Feras. And then it ends up being like Kelli, they need to send her to sabotage. So any thoughts on this tribal?
Yeah, you mentioned Feras wanting Rihanna to weaken Kirby. It's the first time, but it sure isn't the last time that plan is going to come up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really like this from Kirby of just not wanting to strengthen Ferris's game any more than it already is, and aborting things and saying we're going to go for Kelli instead. It can't be Feras. It's such a good read by Kirby, and kind of passing that message along the line. And there's a brilliant moment where she says, Kelli needs to shut up. Someone get a message to Kelli and tell her to shut up.
Yeah, that's good. Matt, any thoughts on this tribal?
Not really, but as Feras said in the interview, the Rebels made the right bloody decision, because he would have fucked shit up even more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this was absolutely, and I love that Kirby absolutely recognized that they needed to not send him. So, but it would have been entertaining if they did, of course. But speaking of entertaining, then we get Kelli heading to the Titans camp and immediately yelling surprise multiple times and waking them up in the middle of the night.
And then Eden immediately clocks Kelli.
Yes.
Like, something's not, because I think he says my survivor radar is going
up. Yes. Yeah.
If you were in the majority, how did you get here?
Yeah. And she says it was a unanimous vote.
I had a good alliance. I was in the majority. It was a unanimous vote.
Okay. Clearly, none of those things can be true at that point. So yeah, and I believe this is like at one point this is where like Nathan's jacket starts getting passed around too, I think, in this episode while he's there, and like Kelli wears it at one point. Of course, it's going to be passed to Caroline, and I think Valeria wears it at some points. Feras is obviously going to wear it towards the end of the season. So
this is the most important Survivor jacket since Natalie's
yeah.
in David versus Goliath.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, as we found out with Feras as well, more so like when he explained something that happened towards the end of the season. So, all right. Should we get to that immunity challenge with the sabotage twist that was supposed to happen?
Before we get there, we
Yeah.
have to talk about some other stuff.
Yeah.
This is where Mark just destroys the box to get the idol.
Yes.
Because as soon as Kelly comes, he probably figures out that there is a swap or something happening.
Yeah.
Then there's this reward challenge where you have to be back to back with a partner, and this is when the V's are like almost like 180 degrees, and I don't know how they lasted that long. This is like that was just very impressive.
Yeah.
And then Feras finds another item.
Yep. A freaking idol, baby.
We also get Scott telling Kirby that Feras was going for Rihanna, and Kirby being very upset about that. And I just don't understand the kind of victim that Kirby makes herself in this, when the plan was she was going for Feras. Everything that Feras did after that was just responding to what was coming for him. We in the earlier episode, Feras was very emotional about Kirby coming for him, and all of this was reactionary. And I feel like Kirby then tries to shift that onto Feras, which is smart but kind of unfair.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? All right, let's get to the sabotage twist. So everybody assuming that heading this challenge that Kelly is going to sabotage the Titans, play in the challenge, and she chooses to sit out. And we get the shocked reactions of Feras and everybody on the Rebels to this decision.
and as we now know, you smash up branches as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's never been more angry in his life.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be angry too if someone didn't go with a plan that, they were sent over there for that entire reason. So, yeah, so the Titans do lose. So technically, Kelly's job is done over there. I don't know that it should have worked that way, but they had to. I guess they kind of have to just go with it at that point because the job was for the Titans to lose and end up at Tribal. So it's probably a thing just to that production has to go with.
And it worked.
Yeah.
She didn't alter it, but it worked.
Yeah. So it is pretty much gonna be a split vote between Jaden and Nathan, with the target being Nathan, because he eats too much, as Caroline says. There is some plans possibly going around to possibly get Caroline instead, but obviously the V's do not actually go with that plan, which ironically they should have. Because next round it's gonna hurt Viola.
Yeah.
So she should have taken that shot.
And then, according to Mark's deep dive, the reason that they chose Nathan here is because he was desperate to get to the other side. So they knew that, they have to cut him loose. And then when Kelly leaves, Eden has another great quote. She was quieter leaving than she was arriving.
Yes. Yep.
And this is where we get the first example of many of Jaden being given a name and him just going, yeah, cool, gonna go chill now. And
he's on a holiday, man.
I just feel like Jaden isn't a player I'd ever want to work with, because there's something very dangerous about somebody who is just willing to write down whatever name the majority tells him it's gonna be. Because if a group of people get together and say, hey, I'm going to write Michael's name down, and he goes, yeah, no bother. He has no loyalty to a specific person, maybe with the exception of Winner, in the game. It's just, what are we voting for? That'll do. And you just can't really trust someone in that kind of position. You need to have someone who's going to kind of have your back and be a good ally to you, and not just flip when the majority says it's your time to go.
That's
Yeah.
fair. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think Aiden, I mean not Aiden, Jaden is a great hang, but I would not want to play with him in Survivor. Just as he said, he's one of my favorite characters this season because he has so many funny moments. But
Mhm.
he's just the game just isn't there for me, except for once when he hurts my soul.
Yeah.
When he was so heated.
Yeah, well, he hurts everybody's soul there. But yeah, I agree with you guys. I can't play with the wild card either. I need someone to bounce ideas off of and like strategies and like actually like make logical sense. And Jaden just isn't going to be that for me either.
We'll get to it later. There's a moment where Caroline's in trouble, and he says to her, "How many votes have you managed to get? How many votes have you managed to get? What have you done? You're supposed to be my ally." Like,
Mhm.
no, it doesn't work for me. It's time to go. I can't work with that. It's like
Mhm.
if you, especially when you're struggling and you're in the firing line, and you have someone in your alliance who's not going out there and having conversations, like you're not bringing anything other than being a vote for me. That's it. You've got to be able to go out there and have those conversations.
Yeah. This is where Jaden also pulls out his rice and beans.
Great.
All right. Well, we got to tribal, and yeah, the split vote is going to happen. But goodbye to Nathan. And Nathan was another one. Obviously, his jacket is huge for the season. As a character himself, aside from like his stupid quotes that happen in the first couple episodes, I mean, he was hyped up preseason heavily. I remember. And
It must be nice to be a good-looking man because that's the only reason he was probably hyped up.
yeah,
It's not bad.
No, I mean,
know?
Yeah, I think that was the only reason, and probably the jacket. So editors probably just put that in for those couple of reasons. And like Kelly's open flirt. We forgot to mention Kelly openly flirts with Nathan.
Yep.
Are you single?
She's so happy.
Yeah, she was so happy. And then she got over there and figured that she's okay with Nathan going, which, I mean, she claims she organized that vote. So
You saw him leave? No, I left before the votes. So how did you know he was gone?
Intuition or something.
He did go.
He did go.
He did go. Just like the Titans lost. So she does do her job.
Yeah.
He's unconventional, but it works.
It does work.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yep. Anything else to say on Nathan or this episode before we move on to episode 7? All right. Episode 7, it's time for a swap. Drop your buffs, and we are going to get some interesting dynamics here as the new Titans tribe is 7 old rebels with 3 old Titans, and on the rebels it is 6 old Titans and 3 old rebels. So kind of interesting here that like both tribes have one side that's very much outnumbered, but it doesn't, like, their first votes don't end up going along those tribal lines at all.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild.
But yeah, the V's get split up, which is going to be huge. Yeah, so any thoughts as we get to the dynamics of these swap tribes?
I really liked how Valeria integrated herself into a new tribe. She was just like, I'm just going to be helpful. I'm going to make people food. And she just is very charming and helpful. And, you know, sometimes it's the little things like that that ingratiate you with a group. And I think she does a good job of selling herself to her new tribe.
Yeah, and absolutely, like, you know, you're ingratiating yourself and you're kind of downplaying your threat level at that moment to this tribe, which Charles and Winna don't do as well with, as they, you know, they don't lower their threat levels.
Yeah.
So
the only thing I have about this swap, I just find it amazing that it's like this whole season is like mirrors. So like each tribe got rid of a buff woman first, and then at this swap, all the middle-aged mafia ends up together, all the misfits end up together, and then one person that they want gets like switched to the other tribe. So like Ree is away from Kirby, Viola is away from Valeria. It's just like it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, and then because they spend a lot of time also in the drawing of the buffs showing each individual person's thoughts. I actually love that. Like,
Yeah, same.
we don't have like any other swap, I don't think, in any Survivor season where you actually get to hear most of what everybody else is thinking in the game.
Yeah.
I think that's crazy. So
Yeah. And speaking of that, Raymond gets to pick which tribe
yes.
to go on. So he chooses the one with the tarp. And speaking of the tarp, Valeria has this as she's opening her buff. I like to be dry, and I will be dry. She gets the Titans one.
Yeah, very good. All right, so the immunity challenge for this round is this the one with like the balls they have to like balance? Yes.
Yeah,
this is a pretty creative
good
challenge.
Yeah,
so
we've seen like a version of this kind of like in Blood versus Water, where it was like the amaze, but now it's just something just a little bit different.
Yeah, the Keith Nail challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah, I should have said that.
Yeah. No, this is really fun, and Kirby ends up at one point when watching the challenge with my parents, my dad is like, how are they even gonna like get the last one in the thing? Because like it has to roll down and like I don't know. And then Kirby suddenly did that, and my dad's like, oh, I guess just like that.
Yeah, be a badass like Kirby.
Yeah.
Before this challenge, my other notes were Jaden builds a gym at Rebels Camp, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And then also I have Kirby and Feras agree to work together. I think I wrote this note 7 different times during this entire season, where they're just like, let's work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ups and downs with those two.
Yeah, which makes it so much fun throughout the season.
Yeah.
All right, so then the Rebels, initially it seems that we're gonna see the Rebels the Titans stick together on the Rebels and go for what they're going for, Alex or Rihanna, right?
Rihanna and Sarah.
Rihanna. Yes, yeah. They're keeping Alex, I guess. So they're gonna go for one of them, and Alex thinks that he's just gonna ingratiate himself with the Titans, so he's gonna go along with what they want. And then
the Yucatan.
Yucatan. Yeah. And
he just awkwardly laughs along.
So then it seems like that is going to happen, but then Viola and Mark talk about going for Caroline, and then Caroline is like, I don't know if necessarily within earshot is the word, but she can kind of tell that something's going on, that she might want to make a move now. And so she talks to Kitty and Eden, and they decide to make a move to blindside Viola and split up her alliance with Mark and Valeria. And we're going to get a tribal where they loop in Sarah and Rihanna, and Viola is taken out way sooner than I think a lot of people expected.
Definitely. I thought she was making the merge. Like, like if there wasn't the Eden vote out later, like this one actually hurt me. I was like, oh man, I really thought I was going to get more time seeing Viola, because she was like such like I was just like so drawn to her because she's just like so badass, and like I could tell like she would have been fun to work with.
Yeah, I really liked her. I think Viola should come back, actually. But I mean, and we've seen pre-merge boots come back, obviously, to differing variations on if they are successful or not. But look
how it worked for Mark.
Yeah, it worked for Mark. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's sad to see her go. We get the badass Caroline confessional though, where she says, I've given birth to so many babies, and tonight...
No, I've delivered so many babies. Sorry,
not given birth. Sorry.
I've delivered thousands of babies, but tonight I'm delivering my first blindside. And guess
it's a baby
what?
girl.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
Yeah, like, my bad.
Caro has so many great lines during the season.
Jumping back ever so slightly as well, I really love how Rihanna sells herself to Caroline and Kitty, where she's trying to, when the plan is still a split vote on them, of talking about how, look, when we merge, I've got a good relationship with Kirby, and trying to think about that long game, that if you keep me around, I can have connections that are going to be useful to you coming into the merge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes total sense there. All right, anything else to say on Viola? Are we ready to hit episode 8?
I kind of wish you have just waited until Brains versus Brawn 2, because then we could have probably seen more.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe that season would have fit her even more. So who knows? Maybe that season has a couple of second chance returnees. We don't know. We actually don't know. All right, episode 8. This is the Sarah boot episode because the rebels do lose again. But any other fun stuff from this episode? Obviously, I mean, this is also where Mark vows revenge.
That Valeria's plan when she was coming into her new tribe was to seduce Feras, which
yeah,
she doesn't have a need to do anymore, which I just thought was an amazing thing that she thought to do.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And who could say no to that?
Yeah.
I have a bunch of notes here. Scott does some pirate stuff with Ferris Freeman and Eileen.
Yes.
I just found that really fun. Like, it shows off his personality. Like, we don't get a lot from Scott because of what happens later, but you can see his like fingerprints all over the season.
Yeah, I this was a really funny moment. Yeah, and like Ferris's laugh is great, and just like I want to mention that, and like them talking about peg leg Eileen, and she leans. Oh, it's so good.
So good. Yeah.
All right. And yeah, you get the great reaction of Viola being gone that no one expected. Feras is shocked. Valeria's, of course, very pissed.
Yeah. She gives like a what the fuck look to JLP. And like, if I ever saw that person, I would be like, you know what? Viola's coming back.
Yeah. Yep. It's so crazy.
And I also like this part when Valeria's asking what happened, and nobody's talking, and then Garrick says, Kitty looks guilty. Kitty, do you know? And then she just like kind of has to turn because Kitty doesn't really have like a good poker face.
No.
Yeah,
And she admits
we'll see
that.
a lot.
Yeah. And this is an immunity challenge. So this is reward challenge list episode. And which challenge is this one?
Use logs to build a bridge for a cart, then do. Oh yeah, this is when Scott really comes into.
Yeah, the art director.
Because he noticed there's a gradient on the puzzle.
Yeah, that Scott really came in clutch in this challenge, so it was really, really cool to see that. Because I think we've seen other challenges in other seasons where like someone's like job and whatnot comes into play with helping in a challenge, and so it's always cool to see. So yeah, then the rebels go back to camp, and Marcus is idle that he's gonna play for himself, and I mean there's a lot of stuff that goes on, so it's kind of hard to break every single conversation down, but he wants revenge with a capital R.
Yeah, Mark's kind of. This is where Caroline gets a lot of credit because she struck first. Both of these sides were planning on doing this, and Mark doesn't have the leverage that he thinks he has now with the girls because they're not desperate anymore. The last time they were desperate for any plan. This time they've actually got options, and so they're not just going to jump on board with Mark's plan straight away. I actually do think, though, that going with Mark was the best option here. If they're going to go to longer term in this tribe, they've now broke up 2 different groups in Mark and Viola and Caroline and Kitty. If you do that, then your 3 rebels on that tribe all of a sudden have a lot of power within that tribe.
Yeah, this is like what Sarah and Rihanna both like. They go and tell Caroline everything that Mark's saying, and yeah, Sarah really dooms herself here. Yeah, they still don't believe it.
Well, to be fair, I have this conversation written down between Sarah and Alex. Sarah, are you going to go blow this up? I'm just going to ask for the truth. I'm not blowing it up. Oh, fuck.
And then there's another. It happens like 2 or 3 times. Like they go to them and tell them Mark's planning something. They don't believe it. Mark comes back and says, I know you've just tried to tell them, but like, I get it, but we're still good. And they go back again.
Yeah.
It's like.
Then there's also another amazing moment between Sarah, Mark, and I think Kitty. I'll say the truth. I'll say the truth. Me too. Okay, we all tell the truth.
Yeah. And it's just clearly Sarah being so just unsure of herself in the game and not really knowing what she's doing. And you can see Mark and Caroline just being like, "Yeah, we're all telling the truth. It's fine." Like, and they get the game more. Whereas Sarah is just confused. Like, she doesn't understand what's going on. Like, fundamentally.
Yeah.
Well, she does have one good confessional where she says, "If you're not part of the conversation, you are the conversation." So at least she knows that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Our next guest is here.
Perfect timing.
So
my next note was about him.
yeah, so we'll let him in. And Matt, you can introduce him.
Who is it?
Oh no, no audio, not this again. We had the problem last time. I think we know who it is because it literally says it. So
Yeah, so Eden's back.
Eden is back.
can we hear him? Can you talk so we can make sure that?
Oh, say his name and he appears.
That's right,
Yes.
just like Joe Henry. Okay,
There
Well,
we go.
I get to introduce you. So it is awesome to have you back. He is one of the hosts of the amazing Canceled Movie Report, which by the way is having a killer of a season. He is the first survivor to appear twice on the Tribe of Nerds. He is the Obi-Wan to Jaden's Anakin Skywalker. He is the Titan of pop culture, Mr. Eden Porter.
Gentlemen, lovely to see you again. Thank you very much for having me back.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming back.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
thank you.
Despite all, I'm sure, the complaints and everything that came through last time, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's no pop culture expert.
So many.
We were
so many.
flooded with them.
Well, you came in at a perfect time because we're talking about episode 8 right now when Sarah goes home. And my next note was Eden is the one to get the vote on Sarah instead of a split. So was there a reason for that, or was it just because Sarah was just like blowing shit up?
No, it actually wasn't. There is a very specific reason for that. And that was actually Alex. So what ended up happening was Alex ended up, I was talking to Alex. I was willing to work with him. It was all going forward. We were like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to split the vote, rah, rah, rah. Then Alex immediately goes back to the beach, talks to the girls, says, this is the plan. This is what's happening. And then that's when Sarah comes up to me. We have our amazing conversation with Sarah, where Sarah's like, I need to get to the bottom of this. And Sarah literally says, she's like, 3 people told me 3 different things. I'm like, yeah, some people are lying to you, Sarah. I'm really sorry, buddy. And she's like, what? Like, yeah, mind blowing. But then at that point, I knew Alex had just gone and basically told the girls straight away that, like, something's happening. So then when I confronted Alex didn't do a great job of lying back to me. Oh, I was like, mate, you told the girls the plan? No, they must have just figured it out themselves. I'm like, really? Is that what you're going with? Is that the lie that you're going with? That as soon as you spoke to them, and I didn't like call him out directly. I was like, really? Is that what happened? He goes, yeah, man. Yeah, just crazy. And so as soon as I know at that point in the game that Alex had just gone to the girls and blown everything up and told them that, then I knew, well, Alex isn't splitting the vote with us. So then we don't have numbers to split the vote. But actually, as that happened, it was like time to go to tribal. So I didn't have any time to round up the troops and go, we're not splitting, we're not doing this. So I was like, oh, wow, we have to do this at tribal council. So I'm sitting there the whole time of tribal council, knowing that Alex isn't going to vote with us, knowing that we can't split the votes. I'm like, I've just got to say it at some point, I've just got to pull the trigger. And then there was just that moment where I'm like, guys, like, abort. This is just like, we've got to get through. And that actually worked out in the favor that time. And it panned out pretty well in the end. Even though all that sort of stuff with Mark blowing things up. And that was the one where Riri didn't vote with everyone as well, wasn't it?
Yes.
Most likely, because she doesn't have a great voting record.
No. But in saying that, though, like, she didn't trust Mark. Like, Mark came up to her and just said, hey, I've got an idol now. The plan's changed. Do this now. And she was like, why am I just doing what you're saying? Like, you're changing the plan last minute. You're throwing this stuff at it. You're saying, I've got an idol. I'm going to use it. Rah, rah, rah. And so I can understand why she didn't fully trust him and didn't do it. Like, I totally understand why she didn't just follow his voting thing. And then there was that moment where the Mark's going to play the idol for himself or Sarah. But I knew 100% Mark's playing the idol for himself. He's just going to cover all his bases in that regard, because he was really worried that Caroline and Kitty were going to swing everything onto him after the craziness of the V vote from beforehand. But yeah, that's how that panned out.
I feel like at that point, if Mark's wanting to do that, he just needs to show them the idol and be like,
yeah,
this is what we're doing. I'm doing this. Like, jump on board. You can get involved. I'm doing it. He's my idol.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is because the only people that he showed that idol to were the V's at the time. So he had bonded with them pretty well. But then he was just all hands. I was still wanting to save Mark in the game. So I was never going to put the votes on him at that point. But he was just in that I don't trust anyone. After the V thing, he's like, I don't trust anyone anymore. Like I'm just going to save myself. And that's the right play. Just burn the idol, use it, save yourself. Don't get pulled into everything else. But imagine if he had used it on Sarah. Wow. And then Cara goes home and then all this. You got to have some pretty big
changes
balls
a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, it's craziness. Yeah.
And
then Sarah wins this season of Titans versus Rebels, maybe.
What a shift.
It's going to be crazy.
That just broke my brain. I don't know if it would be the greatest season of Survivor ever. No offense, Sarah. She's super nice.
We love Sarah. Sarah's
It's funny you mentioned the whispering as well, because I feel like this season more than any other had so many live tribals and whispering of tribals and changing of plans. It was like it happened all the time, especially once we hit merge.
It's really funny because like American Survivor, obviously, like game changes and stuff like that, we got to that point in the game. And I've always said that I feel like Australian Survivor has just been, we're like American Survivor on steroids. We've just been having to catch up like 10 seasons at a time to get to where, and I felt that this was our season where we got to that really, like, season, like episode 7 in Heroes as Villains, season before obviously had that dynamic to it. But this felt like a more regular thing of tap someone on the shoulder. Hey, I think we need to change the plan. Hey, I think it's Sarah now. Hey, I think we need to change it to Eden. Hey, I think we need to do this. There was a lot more of that, and people were just more willing and open. And that's because I think a lot of the plans, people were quite fluid, and we talk about voting blocks and stuff like that. But there was an aspect of, okay, as long as it's not me, if someone tells, I'm not totally like on board and locked in with my own plan. If someone brings something to me at Tribal Council and it's not me, then I'll go, okay, cool, we can do that. It's a very Tony Vlachos thing. Like he was always leaving his plans until like 5 minutes before Tribal Council, just so people would go like, okay, well, that's the last plan we had. And there was definitely a bit of that going on in our season as well, with all these things coming together at the last minute. But the Sarah vote, honestly, that was the most like living the crazy paranoia, fast-paced, changing plans thing. That was the best example of that feeling, I think, of any Survivor I've seen. That like 20 minutes that they showed on TV was literally that representation of what's happening. Hang on, who's talking to who? What are you doing over here? I'm walking over here. No, I can't talk to you now. Hey, I'm going to talk to this person. It's like that on the island. Like that was such a good representation of the craziness. Yeah.
It's crazy. We also get your voting confessional, Eden, calling Sarah Princess Leia. So we got our Star Wars reference.
Good. I know. I was doing movie references for all my photos, which was good. They didn't show them all, but I'm glad that one got through because Sarah was doing a little Princess Leia, so, which was fantastic. But the Survivor Force was not strong with Sarah that night, unfortunately.
Sadly,
I'm a Star Wars fan from way back in the day, so getting little things like that out there was really fun.
It's amazing. Yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Not quite as long, but I grew up with it. So
yeah. So are you like Phantom Menace? Were you growing up with?
I grew up with the prequels. Yeah. So
yeah.
It was like and then I would still watch like the original trilogy when my parents got it for me on DVD. Like I actually got the original 6 saga one Christmas, and I said I was gonna watch them all in one day. On Christmas.
I do that with Lord of the Rings every year.
The extended edition? Oh my, that's a big call.
Because it's their version.
Yeah, of course.
I do all the Transformers movies on Christmas.
Oh God.
I hate Christmas, apparently.
Bah humbug.
So good. Excellent.
Yeah, well, let's move on to episode 9 now with Eden. And this is, of course, where the promos were heavily promoting Kirby versus Feras. And this is where,
Always, which that's unusual.
yeah.
Wow.
Narrow it down. Yeah, good.
Absolutely. And this is where Garrick is going to go. But Matt and Michael, if you guys have any notes, and Eden, of course, chime in whenever you got anything, of course, on some of these moments. But any other fun moments from episode 9?
So we start with Mark going on an apology tour, and Caroline says that Mark has definitely broken my trust, but I have other plans for him. And in that moment, I realized I'm terrified of Caroline.
Same.
Good.
Yeah.
The only note I have before we end the challenges is this is the moment that we talked about Feras during the deep dive of Feras and Raymond shouting to each other in the water. You want to strategize? I've got an idol, but don't tell anybody. So just wanted to make a note of that.
We would never see that on American Survivor. Like, nobody would ever in their right mind on American Survivor go and do that. But I just love that you guys in Australia are just like, you don't care. So you'll just go out and do stuff like that. And it's so fun.
There was definitely a bit of that out there of just like, oh, whatever. Like, especially, and it was often people that didn't have the same reverence for the show. You know, sometimes when you get game bots and super fans, the show itself is on such a pedestal. You're like, well, I can't do that. Like that's secular. But people are some guys that don't have that are a bit freed up to just be, oh, whatever. I'll just strategize someone over the water while we're separated, and I'll just tell people, oh yeah, I've got this idol, all this sort of stuff, which definitely throws spanners in works and changes how people have to play the game, which is super interesting.
Yeah,
makes for a fun season.
Absolutely.
Yeah, big time. Poor Garrick as well. Garrick was great.
Yeah,
we loved Garrick.
Yeah,
Garrick was so much fun.
I loved having the grumpy old man on the season. It was just so much fun to because
I never got to hang out with him or meet him or anything like that, and it would have been I think I actually would have got on with him quite well because he sounds like a really interesting guy, and I heard that he was actually quite a good swimmer as well, so that would have been interesting to see him versus Mark at some point.
That would have been fun.
Yeah,
I think he would have fit in very well with the middle-aged mafia.
Well, yeah, perfect. He would have loved that. He would have. I think for an older player as well, I think Garrick challenged the stereotype of, oh yeah, I'm just here just to show that I'm still tough. He was pretty switched on. He was making good reads of people, and he was understanding. Oh yeah, something's going on with Kirby here. Someone's doing this. So that was always. But that was sort of that was the vote as well where Feras really took to heart like people coming after his people, and that sort of really drew a line for Winner and V and who am I missing? Charles. Yeah. At that point as well, like Feras was there on my hit list now, and I'm gonna get revenge for Garrick after that point. Like, absolutely. Yeah, don't mess with Feras. He'll come back 10 times harder against you.
There's a couple things that I want to hit on before we hit the tribal. Definitely the challenges. The first one is the spelling bee for the Mexican feast. This has one of my favorite Garrick and Kelli moments. I can spell. We can all spell, Kelli.
And then she couldn't.
That was good.
And then because she tosses the second A of salsa.
Yeah. I tell you what, as a bad speller, I was so worried about that challenge. Like, so worried that it was gonna, oh my God, I'm gonna have to stand up in front of everyone and spell something and rah. And it ended up being fine. I went out there, I don't think they actually showed my run, but I had a really good technique where all I would do is I would get down, look at the letter, and then just tunnel ball it through my legs as hard as I could in the opposite direction. So all my bad letters were just being shot like a cannon to the other side and separated out from everyone. But I was going like bang, 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 bang through. And we won our round as well, which was quite good. But there was an incident in that challenge with Alex and Valeria where Alex got a little too rough with Valeria, and he had to be put in the timeout corner for 2 minutes of a round.
Oh, really?
So Alex had to, so it was a 2-on-1 for, and then we ended up losing that round as well. So it's funny that all these little things happen that don't get through.
It's interesting because we see their relationship being kind of rocky until he plays the idol for her. So it's like it's good to know the early reasons why maybe that was.
Yeah, and look, nothing like he didn't like it wasn't crazy, but it was trying to get coconuts out of people's hands, and we were throwing people around. And I know Feras and Mark had a huge altercation in that one where they both sort of bounced each other. But that was just a little thing that happened during that challenge.
That's crazy.
And then on to the next challenge, we have what is an Australian Survivor staple: holding up heavy barrels.
Oh, you gotta love holding up barrels, don't you?
I always like
so
this
good.
But
this, I like. I'm not a strong one of those strong alpha male guys, but I found challenges like this. Like it wasn't like 25 kilograms, which after an hour, after 56 minutes or whatever, starts to get heavy. But it's not. I think the ones that I struggled with as well is based on sort of body weight breakdowns, because I'm a tall guy, but I'm thin. But it's still, I don't have the same muscle. So it gets sort of weird in that. And those ones later on in the game, I didn't do as well at. But this one, I found it all mind over matter. Like this was just, okay. And in my head, I just made checkpoints. In my head with this, it was just like, don't be the first person to drop out. You cannot be the first person. And then Caroline drops out and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then I'm like, okay, don't be the first like male to drop out. And then I just stayed it. And then you just make little mental checkpoints, and you're just there going, well, I can't drop out until that. I just can't do it. I'm not going to let myself do it. And you just get into the zone. I think the first 10 minutes is really hard, but after that, you're just like locked in mentally. You're like, okay, I can just do this. And then with a challenge like that, like a classic Survivor challenge, the longer you can go without losing a barrel, it's going to give your strong guys way more of a chance later on. So as long as you possibly go. But kudos to Caro. I know she felt bad about having to drop out and stuff, but there's also an element of that challenge to know when you hit your limit, and to not be that person that's like sort of slipping and, oh my God, I'm sorry, I lost it for everyone because I was trying to be the hero. And so for her to go like, yeah, I'm done. I'm going to hand this off to, like, there's actually something sort of self-aware about that as well, which I thought was quite good. And then Garrick on the other side, the guys over there, they just couldn't.
Well,
couldn't
also, I have a note. Charles was holding up 2 barrels for a while, which is something you don't expect when you look at Charles.
No, and that's when I started calling Charles Secret Superman. Like Charles was Clark Kent out there. He had been smashing the gym in the lead up, and he was fit. He was a Secret Superman, and he was really strong, and deceptively so. And I think if we'd seen a bit more from Charles, maybe once we got to the single immunity challenges, I think Charles could have been like quite a force once some of those big dogs got knocked out. He was very fit. He was good. Love my Charles.
And so you guys end up winning. The Rebels end up winning the challenge, and you have Jaden pulling up the barrel in victory.
Ridiculous. Just doing some extra sets out there. Actually, that was the challenge where, because it went for so long, I had some great banter with JLP doing that challenge. So JLP would just do laps around us and stuff. And then I was just dropping Survivor quotes and, JLP, do you think I should start digging deep? And he's like, Eden, mate, you know you got to dig deep for this. And I'm like, I know, JLP, I'll dig deep. And he's like, good on you, mate. And we just have little quotes like that. And he that was really fun. When you had those long challenges where you could talk with JLP, me and Ray would often try and outdo each other with like chatting to JLP, which was really fun.
It's amazing. All right, let's head to the tribal council. So this is going to end up culminating with Feras and Kirby are going to go against each other, and they're both going to try to weaken the other. Feras is going to go right for Kirby. Kirby's going to go for Garrick, Ferris's right hand. And we're going to see that Feras is confident that the Titans are with them, which he unfortunately ends up being wrong about.
So great right there.
Just before the tribal, I think Garrick actually misplaced this here, where they're trying to get the minority rebels to go for Kirby, and he goes to them and says there was a bit of a wobble with Eileen, but I'm going to work on it. It's like, don't go to the minority and tell them there was a wobble.
Yeah.
No.
Tell them the plan is solid. We're voting for Kirby, because as soon as that happens, it kind of pushes them back towards Kirby.
Right.
So I feel like maybe if he didn't do that, they could have got things on board for it. But yeah. And then Raymond also has a bit of a misplay where he tells Kelly, "You're not going to play the idol for Kirby, are you?" It's like, don't say that. No one even knew Kirby's name was out there.
I know. There was it, and this is when people were really like taking some shots, and you can see people sort of figuring out the game as well, like live, being like, oh, okay, well, I've talked to these people and they've said they're with me, so they're with me. But you can never take stuff like that on face value. And I think it was much more to do with relationships, and Feras just didn't put the work in with your winners and your Charleses and stuff to build that. And Kirby's really good at having those conversations and having those sort of back and forth. And that's when Kirby and Valeria started to get quite close as well. And so once you've got one of the Titans sort of on the hook, if they're all voting as a 3, it's more like, because all it takes is, does any one of us feel really passionate about something? Yeah, I really want to go with Kirby. Okay, well then that could be good for our game. Whereas, so you only really need to get one person sort of hooked in to really shape that voting block, because it was a voting block of those 3 guys at the end. And it was, it's so wild how that tribe swap panned out.
Yeah.
Like both sides.
Out of all the options. Yeah, I know, crazy. Yeah, poor Garrett.
Michael said that Raymond had a misplay. But I'll say one good thing that Raymond did before the tribal is he hums the theme to the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it was too tense.
And he's so embarrassed.
Yeah.
What was
He's
that?
like, what was that?
Love it.
It's so funny. So yeah, we get to the tribal, and you have Garrick telling Feras that he thinks he's going home, so play the idol for him. And you have Eileen saying that she thinks that Feras should play the idol on Garrick as well, and she won't tell them why. As we listen to Feras, and they show it on the show that like Eileen does not like communicate it well at all. So Feras does not play the idol, and Garrick is going to go here.
Yeah, if you want to hear Feras break that down, you can check out our interview with Feras that we did, because he went through that entire tribal council in detail. So yeah, to the viewer, it does seem kind of crazy, but I do understand Ferris's mentality of it, where all of a sudden he's been asked, "Do you want to play the idol?" It's like, "Play it for Garrick." It's like, why? No one's even mentioned Garrick. What do you mean?
I think to me as well, and this is just an observer of the game, this is probably one of the first signs that maybe Eileen needed to think, like, where is my actual standing in some of these groups? Like, if I'm confident about things and I'm putting suggestions out there, this is like, there's been a few times now in the game where Eileen has tried to say, like, this is what we should do, and it's sort of fallen on deaf ears with people that maybe have seen of having more of the power and stuff. And so it probably would have been interesting at this point is if, what's Eileen's game plan? Like, she's seen how people have reacted in certain situations, and maybe then you need to start forming new connections with people, because that was, it just shows you, it's like, well, hang on, if I've got no agency in this group, if I'm putting things out there and people are not listening to me and being like, oh, well, because of this and this, that's what, because you want agency, you want people to listen to you, you want to be able to communicate your point. And I feel like, that happened a few times to Eileen, which was unfortunate. She had a good read on stuff, but it didn't pan out.
One thing I wanted to bring up is after the vote, Eileen immediately says, "We need to check Kirby. I didn't put your name down." I don't know if that was a good play or a bad play.
I know. I know it was a bad play. It just came across as sort of that desperate.
It's right. Like, oh no, things didn't work out. Let me, try.
Let me just try and jump in here, and then that does it. The honesty doesn't cut through there. There's no humbleness there. You got to come back with hat in hand. That's what you got to do. And you go, man, you guys played us really good. You guys are doing some great stuff here. How can I help? Like, how can I support you guys? Like, obviously, and that's when you say stuff like, no one listens to me in my group. No one's doing this. I don't feel represented. Like, I don't know what I should do in this game. And you let them take you in. You don't go, oh, by the way, actually about this, because it's just not. Yeah. And again, this is people figuring out how to play the game like live. They know in their head, oh, I need to do something now because this blew up, what is the optimal thing to do? And like a lot of the time, you're just reacting straight away. But yeah, that was a good pickup, Manny. That line.
And also,
that came.
she didn't vote with Kirby. She voted for Kelly. It's not like she voted with their plan. She voted for her random name. So it's like you were involved in neither.
Neither, yeah, exactly. So you get the worst of both worlds, really.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anything else? Are we ready to hit episode 10, aka the Titans versus Rebels version of the King George Tribal?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, episode 10. So we start with Feras and everybody getting back to camp, and Feras being super upset that Garrick is gone and knowing he can no longer trust the Titans on the Titans on the New Titans tribe. So
yeah, Feras was like, salting the earth so nothing could grow again. He was they were dead to him, and he like was Arya Stark. He made a little list and he would repeat their names at night. Like I'm gonna get my revenge in this life or the next. He was he really liked Garrick. Him and Garrick were really tight. And so losing Garrick at that point in the game, I don't think it's the first time I think that he had really lost someone in the game that he had formed a bond with, and so he took that really hard. And it is hard to bounce back from that stuff. I feel like you got to be a bit more subtle about it sometimes, though.
Yeah,
you've got to be able to reset and come to the table, because honestly, if there was not this tribal council challenge, like they're pretty dead in the water if they don't come back to the table with something. And you can see in this episode, like Eileen is trying to get in there. And what was the conversation about the hair? If my hair's up, this is happening. If my hair's down, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, which I don't know. More of that would have been great, but it ended up just falling back into no. We're going to stay to our tribal lines. We're going to stick to these groups because of this little twisty McTwist face. But what was the challenge? What was the challenge in that episode?
The immunity challenge was transport the balls on the poles and then shoot basketball. And then I think it your idea to have Jaden as the one shooting?
Yes,
that was great because that was a smart plan.
It was funny because we, as a Titans, as the original Titans, right? We were really bad at that strategy time. We were, and we lost a bunch of those challenges at the start because there was a bit of, what's happening? Okay, what are we going to do? Who's good at this? I don't know. No one wanted to just say, this is what you're doing. You're good at this. You do that. No one wanted to be that person. But we got to this point in the game, and like I know this challenge is going to come down to the shooting. Like everyone is probably going to get to the shooting part of it. And so you want someone that can do really good, strong loops, get the distance and have it hang in the air and fall down. And you need someone to be able to do that. And it was funny because I had to talk Jaden into doing that because his initial reaction was, I'm really good at balancing. I can get through this balancing so quick. I'll be able to smash that out. And I'm like, that doesn't matter, man. Like, that's great, but we're going to need you shooting at the end out of everyone that we've got left here. Oh, no. One of the other guys can shoot. And I'm like, no, you have to shoot. And he's like, okay, man. Okay, fine. I'll do it. And it was at that point in the game where I was just like, no, I've just got to put my foot down and say, you've got to do this. We'll do this. And it works perfectly in the end. And he came up to me at the end. He's like, man, he was like, dude, that was a good call. And I'm like, yeah, that was all you. And it was perfect. And it worked. Absolute treat. But Mark, I had no idea that Mark's balance was so bad. Mark will be the first to tell you, he's like, my balance is no good. Balance beams is his sort of like in the water, he's fantastic. Yeah. But balance he's not great at. He's sort of said that before. And so for him, that was a bit of a struggle getting those balls across. But yeah, that was a good challenge. I did like that one. And then the 6 in a row was just boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
It was crazy.
Awesome moment. Moment. Like I think that's almost the hardest we celebrated getting a challenge. And the other thing that was happening when we were waiting for the rest of the teams, we were watching, I was watching what the other group was doing in terms of holding the net up. And we were making sure that I was like, okay, me and Alex are the tallest guys. We're going to be at the back. We're going to be high up. The shorter guys are going to be down the front. And when it comes in, you're going to drop it and then go up. And we were coming up with little tactics and stuff to do. So when it came to it, we just hit the ground running. And it was, oh God, we celebrated so hard. Like we lost the plot there. It was really fun. That was a really good challenge win. Love it.
Yeah. So,
And JLP that one, he said the famous words. He's like, "This is becoming a blowout." And we came back and we were just like, and I was like, JLP, never call it a blowout, JLP. You should know that. He was like,
Did he say? Did he say it would be a miracle if if the Titans come back?
That is on the Survivor bingo card for sure. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So after that comeback and winning immunity, so we're gonna see more of the bloodbath with the Titans tribe, and little do they know that a twist is coming into play. So we get to the tribal and we find out that the challenge is happening, and it's the one where they have to build the tower with the blocks and try to shoot the beanbags through, and only 3 people are gonna win it, and only 3 people are gonna vote. So which is crazy as a twist. As a viewer, it's like you're rooting for Eileen and Feras to get it here, and Ray, and like, you know, you're rooting for something crazy to happen, that the people on the bottom are gonna get rid of someone on the top, hopefully. As like, I guess in terms of being like a fan and wanting it to be, I guess, this more pure game, I don't know. I feel like it's like, I kind of think like, you know, something like this is a bit too much or a bit too overpowered, but I still loved watching it. So
it was great. Look, honestly, amazing TV. The thing with it though, at the end of the day, you still have to win the challenge. Like, any one of those guys could have really won it. And it wasn't a super physical challenge. Like,
right.
You could just put it together and anyone could have won it. So there's that aspect of it. I totally get it. It was really overpowered. Like, only 3 people voting, and how it panned out that way is the way that that was the only combination that could have worked.
Yeah.
I don't think Ray was getting through. But that, yeah, and look, you look at Charles. And Charles, Winner, and Valeria, they did so much of the groundwork to build that relationship with Kirby, build that group. They came in as a minority. They could have easily been picked off themselves. They could have all been ganged up against, but they did the work to build those relationships. And then for this to happen to them, it's just like, oh man, like you did everything right. Like, and honestly, you did everything right. And then to get to that point, look, Charles came into that tribal council pretty hot, because I know him and Eileen had some conversations before tribal council, and they felt that they could work with Eileen and that they could move forward with her. And then when it got to tribal council and it came out that there was this challenge, Eileen's totally switched to no, stay tribal strong.
Right.
I'm not splitting with my people. We're sticking together and everything like that. And so that was another line in the sand. And I think because of that sort of fired up Charles a little bit and ultimately it's probably why he ended up getting targeted first out of everyone. But again, good idea for them to split the vote, the 1-1, 1-1-1, which is something that you could definitely overlook in the heat of the moment when that's all happening. You could definitely overlook that. So it was really good for the guys to split that. They didn't know for sure that Winner, no one knew about Winner's idol.
Right.
His banana eating idol, which is so funny. But yeah, it's a huge tribal council. Television wise and entertainment wise, it worked out perfectly. Like, you could not have asked for a better situation for that to happen. But for all those Charles fans out there, it was a nightmare happening in real time.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate for Charles.
Yeah.
I think Charles could have added a lot more to the game, I think. And it was terrible for my game. Like, this tribal council was terrible for because out of all those guys, I had the best relationship with Charles. Like, I had a better relationship. I was more connected with Charles than, like, say, like Mark couldn't have pulled Charles in. Like, Jaden wasn't going to pull Charles in. The girls went with Charles. Like, me and Charles were tight. So if he had come back at the merge, it would have given me another number to work with. Because Winner was obviously with, he had a good relationship with Mark, and he had obviously a great relationship with Jaden. And then Valeria had a good relationship with Mark and Kirby. So it was probably the worst situation for my game for Charles to go home. Now that was just another one of my soldiers that I lost at that point in the game, which was unfortunate.
Yeah.
But as Feras says, Charles is a lawyer, but we're the ones laying down the law tonight.
Well, Charles, I think, is the first person to get like a Paul Keating is like old Prime Minister of Australia, and he got a Paul Keating, like an ex-PM quote on the show, which everyone in Australia that watched that was like, whoa, because that was the I'm going to do you slow, Feras. I'm going to like take my time and take you out. And that's like a political quote out there. So it was very, very funny to get that on screen. Charles was laughing about that afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. I was watching this with my parents because I was trying to get them into Australian Survivor through this season. And they got done with episode 10, and they're like, we're glad you showed us this because this is one of the best tribals that we've seen in years. And like, I'm just like, it's just insane, like, just to think about that like this and the King George tribal just last season. I mean, just like American Survivor hasn't had that in so long.
Yeah. And I think, look, any tribal council where where things change at tribal council, like both of these, you've had immunity challenges, and the person that was going to be targeted ended up becoming safe.
Yeah.
And cats amongst pigeons, etc. Like, that's what creates interesting things, because you don't have that finely crafted plan and you have to change things on the fly. And that's the secret. That's the secret to that, like making those changes at tribal council. Maybe they should do some more of them. Like, yeah. It's pretty crazy to really shake up the game. I would have loved to have done that challenge. I cannot tell you how many beanbag throwing practices I had back at home. Like, I've got all my beanbags, and I would just do different distances, different heights, the high ones, the long ones, getting in the basket and everything like that. So I feel like my beanbag game was strong, but I never really got an opportunity to show the fans.
Sadly.
I do think that like we talked about this twist being slightly overpowered and unfair, but I think what sets this apart is this season isn't bloated with ridiculous twists.
Yeah.
We've seen it in other seasons of Australian Survivor. So I don't think it's as egregious when you have a twist like this, where it's kind of the only one of its kind within the season. And it is exciting, and yet sometimes you get bad luck in Survivor, and this worked out terribly for Charles, but it is also a show, and in having a big exciting tribal like that is amazing for the viewer, and it was a fantastic episode. And yeah, it just sucks for Charles.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, and just like hearing what Feras had to say about like what was cut out of the edit as well, with when Winnow plays idol, and why Winnow played it for himself and everything. Like, I that's crazy that didn't make the edit of the show either, because that would have explained a little more too. But
can't show it all. Too much stuff happens.
Yeah, so much. Any other thoughts on the episode 10 tribal?
I would just like to say this is when I really fell in love with Kirby as a player, when they were doing this strategy chat. They've obviously just had this move with the rebel minority, and Kirby just kind of stands back and lets them do the plan. And it's just like, yeah, cool. As long as Kirby's getting the results she wants, like, she doesn't have to be pushing it. She doesn't have to be leading it. And it's just, I really love the way Kirby plays. And it's a really solid way of keeping everyone with her.
Yeah.
Because was the plan Ray going in? Was the plan Ray?
Yeah,
it was
Kirby.
A split on. It was split
Feras
between Ray and either Eileen or Feras. Some kind of combination.
Yeah, I think so. Feras uses his idol.
Yeah,
and then Ray goes home probably. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
So nuts. Well, let's move on to episode 11. And Eden, you have stuff to talk about here, because this is the tribal where Alex ends up drawing the rock to get switched over to the Titans.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one, because again, there was a few episodes in a row that probably it was for my particular game, these little decisions and these little things ended up snowballing. And a lot of them were things that were quite innocuous. And a lot of them were things outside the game. Like, Charles going home obviously impacted the game, but then I was building a little something with Alex after we'd done the Sarah thing, and we sort of came back and we're like, okay, look, You lied to me. We lied to each other. Let's try and move forward together. And we were trying to build. We had a few late night meetings. Like we'd get up in the middle of the night, and me and Alex would have a bit of a chat. Like, hey, how you feeling? I'm feeling good. Rah rah. And then to then go back, and then the girls were really keen to keep Riri and to get rid of Alex. Me and Jaden was sort of like, oh well, it'd be. I actually wouldn't mind keeping Alex going into. He'd be a target going into the merge. Keep him round. And then Mark was sort of floating between, he didn't sort of mind, which as long as it wasn't him at that point in the game. So it was it was a lot of back and forth. And ultimately when you have that, you have those conversations both ways. And then Alex hears about, oh, well, this is my head on the chopping block. Then that sort of damages relationships and damages. So it would have been better if it was just a clean kill. If it was, okay, yep, let's just make a decision. We're turning on this person. Okay, they're done. But to have that conversation and then go to the other tribe and then hang around in the game and then get more information about that tribal council and then form their own opinions. Because there was at that tribal council, me and Jaden look at each other and we're like, do you want to do this or not? We could sort of flip the vote up at that point. And it would have been very interesting. But then, of course, JLP had something up his sleeves. He's very toned, muscly sleeves, and really throw us for a loop at that point. I don't know. It didn't feel like a good tribal to have a non-elimination there. I just don't, it didn't. Like, it's obviously it's all predetermined and stuff. It was just quite a strange point in the game to do that, and coming closer to merge. Obviously, we knew merge was around the corner. So ultimately, JLP really wanted it, during Tribal Council. He started putting it out there. He's like, the fairest way to do this would be everyone write the name of the person next to you, and then it becomes a proper rock draw, and then one random person like goes home, and that we were very close. I was like, you know what, JLP, the Survivor gods can give and take away. That would be quite fun. I wouldn't mind doing that. But what had just happened to Charles, the tribal before, was still in everyone's minds. And I think if we hadn't had that tribal council just then, where it didn't matter your relationship, it didn't matter how you were playing the game, it's just a twist that happened, and Charles went home, really unfortunately. He had done everything right. So there actually was a huge risk that if you went over to the other tribe, there could be some twist or something that shakes up the game and someone goes home that was unexpected. So it was actually a pretty big risk at that point. But I think if it had happened that way, I actually wouldn't have minded going over. I think I could have made some more connections with some of the guys over there, and it actually would have been quite fun to check those guys out at that time, at that point in the game. But yeah, and then Alex, we ended up voting Alex and Riri, and Alex got the rock. Probably would have been better because I voted for Ree in that. I actually did want rather Ree go over there, because I felt that it's probably safer to keep Alex with us, keep building a relationship with him, send Ree back to Kirby, and let Ree know that, like, hey, we work together during this thing. Kirby can solidify bonds, because she's not bouncing anywhere different. And the thing that you want in the game is people to be predictable. Like, I knew 100% that Ree was going to go back to Kirby. They were going to be their group. Thing I didn't know what Alex was going to do once he got over there. I didn't know whether he would try and work with Kirby, or go over to Feras, or build a relationship with someone else, or come back, be really annoyed with us. Like, I didn't know that. And that is not a great way to play the game from a game sort of perspective, and not knowing people how they're going to react to stuff. Because I think Riri would have been like, great, I get to hang around with Kirby again. Sort of similar to who was it, Liz, the season before, that voted herself to go hang out with Shawnee again. Like, she was actually like, great, this is great, I get to do this. And that was everyone won in that situation. They went over, they got to work with their person, you knew what was going to happen. And that's what I was thinking about at the time. That's why I voted for Riri at that point. Yeah. But it didn't all work out. And I think this is one of those snowball moments where, because of this, Alex stays in the game. He has a conversation with Kitty in the next episode at Merge. Kitty sort of says, oh yeah, everyone was against you, Alex. You were definitely going home, that tribal council. And then he felt burnt by me because we had a good relationship, and then we couldn't sort of get on the same footing to work together. And yeah, one little thing becomes more and more and more. But yeah, It's an interesting
Yeah.
episode. It's very interesting.
A complex game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was the
This was
which episode?
this was the A-frame challenge. Is that what
Oh
you're looking
yes.
for?
Oh yeah. This is the one where Eileen, ironically, was like, "If I don't win this, I'm going home."
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she was, and it was crazy surprising as well that a huge moment, huge challenge moment for Eileen, because you're up against Kitty and Riri, both like powerhouses. And this challenge was not for tall people. I was at a distinct disadvantage. I got up to that top thing and I'm like bent in half, and like Kelly's on the other side at full extension, like holding up easily, and I'm like, and so I was happy I got to the last stage, and I dug in there as much as I could. But a huge moment for Eileen to win that one. And I remember that whole time, because that went for ages. Like Kitty keeps looking down at me to be like, "Hey, what's the go? What should we do?" And I'm like, "No, you have to keep staying there." I just said, I was like, "You have to keep going. You have to keep going. You have to win this. You have to win this." She was like, oh, and she stayed out there, and both those two went so far together. It was absolutely amazing. Like, that was a huge moment. That was really fun. That was really, really fun. But ironically, if they had lost that one, and then they vote someone to go to the other tribe to come and join us, like, would Eileen have come over? Would we have made a better connection when she came over? Like, that's really a really interesting thing. What would have happened if they had gone in that situation? So many sliding doors, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, like hindsight, who knows if your game would be better if you lose an immunity.
Well, yeah, you can never go into an immunity thinking, hey, maybe this one would be good to lose. Maybe something,
Especially just after another twist in the episode before. You can't expect it.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts on anything that happened in episode 11?
I just have a quick one. JLP says, "I'll give you a minute to strategize about the A-frame," and Kirby says, "Hang on to the rope." So that's why I just love Kirby.
You joke about that, but I'm there going, okay, we need to split up the big guys and the small people, because you don't want three big guys all next to each other, because there will be moments where you'll feel like this guy's really close to me, and then I'm like, okay, well, let's make sure that you're like, Jaden is here, I'm here, someone else is over here. And so I was like plotting out everyone's positions for that. And doing the old foot on the side. There's a lot of little funny things when you start getting into challenges like that, how you can do it. But yeah, ultimately Kirby's right. You have to hold him to the rope.
That's the basics.
All right. Well, episode 12, it's time for the Kelly boot episode. Which
oh my God.
A lot of fantastic moments in this season. So let's just start out with any fun little moments before we get to like the tribal council and everything.
Yeah, this is the birthday celebration of her son and her dog.
Yes, her 1-year-old dog. Yeah.
And Feras talked about it being the moment that broke him, where Kelly says that people were judging her son in the womb, and that was the moment where Feras lost it. It's just such a fantastic montage. Kind of looking like a funeral, as Feras mentions, as they're walking their flowers down to the sea.
It is, and that is why you cast people like Kelly in a season.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
you get moments like that a game bot, a super fan, is just not going to give you that. Like their brains just don't work that way, and that is it just came across. That's the weirdest thing, and it would have been. I would have loved to have been involved in it. It would have been really good, but it was a very strange moment. But she was legitimately missing her son's birthday. But you got to know that's a risk when you sign up for the game. Like, how long it could possibly go for. So classic Kelly.
Right.
It's like we all love the gameplay, but it's also an entertainment show, and having those beats where you're just having fun is it's fantastic. And I think especially in a 24-episode season, like, you need those kind of moments. And
it's funny, they're the things that stick out.
Yeah,
things like that really people remember stuff. They're like, remember that weird funeral birthday celebration?
Yeah, I mean, Kelly wasn't like the most strategic like game player in the season by any stretch, but we're certainly not going to forget her as viewers, and that means she delivered on what, you know.
And
He'll never
And
be
this
forgotten.
was the this is when Kelly and Ray talk about finding an idol.
Yep.
Is that? And then
Yep.
Ray does his best sort of, I just think Charlie Brown just
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
wandering around, kicking stones over, just looking like or down, like, okay, he's just sort of wandering around. It's just a great little moment there. And Kelly cuts back to Kelly being like, oh yeah, Ray's tearing this forest apart looking for an idol for me. He knows where they are. It was just,
It's
really
hilarious as
brilliant.
well because when Raymond comes back, Kelly says, "Do you have an idol for me?" And Raymond goes, "No." And she's like, "Oh, you didn't find one?" It's like, what are you asking?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so casual how she asks it. Like, "Do you have an immunity idol for me?"
I
Yeah.
know. It's so funny. It's so funny. They had a very interesting relationship, those two. It's
Yeah.
you know what is crazy? So when Kelly came over, like I had a plan. This is before I met either of them, but just visually, I was thinking back because I'm thinking back to Rob Cesternino and Amazon. I'm like, pull the guys from the bottom, make something new. And I in my plan of attack was Ray's probably a bit of an outsider. Kelly's a bit of a kook. They're probably at the bottom of that tribe. So if they hang around long enough, scoop those two up, form a bit of a cross tribal alliance with those guys. I'll have like Charles and stuff, and Caro, and we'll have this sort of motley crew of people. And so it was in my brain that possibly working with those two. Then you sort of found out how Kelly was a bit of a wild card and a bit crazy and just uncontrollable. And Kirby came to that same realization as well when they're talking about getting rid of Ray, and Kelly's just like, I'm not doing that. And I think that was a bit of a misplay on Kirby to not read into the relationship or not to clock that real relationship between Kel and Ray, and being able to smooth that over a bit and be like, cool, Kel, what do you think? Because you don't go up to someone and say, hey, we're going to vote out someone that you really like. This is what we're doing. You can't change it. Moving forward, you're either with us or against us, sort of thing. And that's sort of how Kelly felt she was being talked to. Like, we're just going to get rid of Ray, and you can't do anything about it. And I don't think Kelly had this sort of the strategic skills to then reform something else. But it was if Kirby really wanted to get rid of Ray, they probably had to finesse that conversation a bit better, or just go, Kel, like who do you want? And I'm pretty sure she probably would have been fine with maybe an Eileen vote out at that point in the game. So maybe leaning more towards that, and everything would have worked out better. She could have been like, yep, cool. As long as Ray stays in the game, I'm still with you guys, because that was the fracture that really blew everything up and blew Kel's game up in the end of the day. Like, once she came across of like, no, I'm not doing what you say, then it's really hard to work with someone like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like he talks about how, she tells Kirby, "You're my alliance," and then Kirby's trying to explain, "Yes, but I'm trying to bring more people in. We can't just have two people." And then when she goes to Raymond, she says, "Raymond's my alliance." It's still just, you're just two people. You need more than that.
Yeah. It's classic Brad Colpap and Matt's there.
Yeah. It's just, I could not play with a wild card either.
So scary. So scary.
Like, I would rather get rid of wild cards than get rid of like threats right away necessarily. So, but so we also get the feast and the idol hunt in this episode. So of course, Eden, you, Rihanna, and Mark went on the idol hunt on the Rebels. So what was that like?
So that was I was always going to, okay, this is when knowing the game actually is detrimental, because I know that there's always a merge feast. There's going to be a merge feast. So, and merge is coming up really soon. So merge is probably in an episode or two. So I'm going to get a big feast at that point. So I'm like, so that's fine. I'll just miss out on this food now because I'm going to get a merge feast. Little did I know that this was the merge feast, and that I was giving. And I actually wish that they had sort of said that straight up and said, guys, this will be the merge feast for you. So you can either do the idol hunt or do the merge feast, because at this point of the game, it actually would have been really good to make some more connections, sit down with people, eat some food. But I couldn't risk. I knew Riri and Mark were both going to look for the idol. I knew Caroline and Kitty weren't. I knew Jaden definitely wasn't. And so I needed to at least know which one of them had the idol. Just we don't know how much longer we had to be in our groups. It could have been 2 more tribal councils. We could have gone to 2 more tribal councils, and one of them with an idol can really throw out the whole game. And not knowing which one has the idol can be really hard, because then you have to split votes, and then it's easy for one person to flip. Blah, blah, blah. So for me, it was really important to know at least who had it. And I really wanted an idol in the game. I really wanted to have some power and to have some ability. And just as a fan, to be able to use an idol at tribal council would have been so much fun. And I felt if it was clues, I'm quite good with clues and puzzles and stuff. Little did I know the clue was, hey, look at that tree over there that's spiky. It's in that. And I was like, great clue, team. I was like, it probably could have been a little bit more like, follow this path down here, look for the hand above you and all this sort of stuff. But no, they just wanted us to run over and stick our hands in this tree. Yeah. And we stuck our hands in, and I had cuts all over my hands afterwards and everything like that. But we were all 3 of us were super close to finding that. And Ree just got it. I was climbing up into the tree and diving over it and things like that. It was really, that was and it was so funny. There's so many juxtapositions in our season. You literally go from that, me, Mark, and Ree running to this tree and doing this, to the dodo music of the other guys. Yeah. Wandering around for hours. Where is it? Alex can't find it. All this sort of stuff. Like that was a great cut. And what do you guys think of Feras letting Alex find the idol, and not maybe getting Eileen to find it? Or like, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I liked it.
Yeah, I like it. I like that he's putting the target on someone else. Like, Alex has already kind of had a target on him, and so like making it even bigger, I think, is a really smart move by Feras. So I really liked it.
Yeah,
I think on the surface it sounds kind of crazy, but knowing that it's going to be a public idol that everyone's going to know you're going to have, and he already has an idol, like I do think it's genius to say, like, look, have someone else have this target. And I think Feras will talk about it in the final tribal council where we get there. Like, the way he used idols was unlike anyone else maybe in the history of Survivor. And he used them as leverage, he used them as confusion, and this was like nothing we've seen, where he just lets someone else have it to get the target off his own back, and it works completely.
Yeah, that's good. I think there's been plenty of people that have used idols to form alliances and connections, and I feel like definitely getting someone else to get an idol is very unique and very, like, there wouldn't be too many times where people literally give away an idol. I think it does make a big difference if you have an idol in your possession to let one like give away to someone else, which is really, really good for putting a target on. But honestly, everyone knew Feras had an idol. I know it was like, does he, doesn't he? We knew Feras had his idol. And it was just a matter. And the interesting thing about the situation was the whole way through, because Kirby and Feras obviously had their connection, and they were wanting to still keep each other in the game. It's the shield principle and stuff. When it came to getting split votes and things like that, it was actually really hard because of the branches, because of how far those branches went. Because, okay, to really do a proper split vote, you need the numbers. And so, you're probably going to need Riri's vote, or you're going to need Valeria's vote. But then to do that, they've both got really strong connections with Kirby, and Kirby doesn't want that to happen because she's in with Feras. So that was always the issue, that to actually do a proper split vote on someone to get rid of Ferris's idol, you had to get so many people involved, and there were so many voting blocks and connections that went all the way across. Because if you talk to Mark about it, Mark would talk to Valeria about it. Valeria would mention it to Kirby. Kirby would mention it back to Feras. And I knew that was going to happen. So it was really hard to do a split vote. So the easiest thing then became, okay, just vote off the 2 ICs, target the Rays, target the Garricks, target these other people around him, because there was a high likelihood that Feras was not going to play his idol for someone else at that sort of stage in the game to sort of save himself. So that's that logic, and that's where that sort of came from, that going after the 2 ICs. And that was really unfortunate for Ray, because Ray, the reason why he was actually fine with his relationship with Feras was he was like, well, if they come for us, they're definitely going to come for Feras before me. And that was sort of the same thinking that I had. I was like, if everything goes to hell, they're probably going to go for Kitty or Caroline before me, just because Caroline hadn't got the best relationships with some people. She'd rubbed some people the wrong way, and Kitty was a bit of a challenge beast. So I was in this sort of a similar position going, well, they're definitely going to come for these people first. But lo and behold, Ray couldn't believe that his name kept coming up. He's like, but I'm not a threat. I'm not a target. I'm no one. Like, I'm not big, like, doing this. And I remember I had a few conversations with Ray where he sort of mentioned that his thought process going in there was, you come a connection with a bigger target and they are the one that's voted out before you, and then you get a few more and you reevaluate your situation. But it really didn't happen that way, which is really interesting. But then from this tribal council, Kirby ate into the burn Alex's idol hook, line, and sinker. Like, Kirby was just 100% every time. She's like, we got to get Alex to burn his idol. We got to get Alex to burn his idol. And she became a bit obsessed with that, which sort of freed up the Kirby Feras relationship to go under the radar a bit, which is good for them.
Yeah. For them, definitely.
Yeah, so of course the big moments from this tribal, of course, Kelli is obviously going home and asking Ray to play the idol for her. And Kelli is gonna go and forget to bring her torch up to JLP. She's gonna get lost on her way out. It's so funny.
Iconic accent for a iconic character.
Yes.
So it's just very fitting.
Iconic.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's just JLP shouting after, like, no, come back.
You want to grab your torch?
So funny.
Any other thoughts on this or on Kelli?
Kelly's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
She's a perfect pre-merge character. Perfect. Like, absolutely perfect for the show. Brings so much to the pre-merge that sometimes you can go through ups and downs where it gets a bit dull if it becomes a bit of a formulaic. So having someone like that, it's cat amongst the pigeons, like, awesome pre-merge. And it's ultimately why she got voted out, because you can't rely on her in a post-merge sort of situation where you need to know where people's votes are going. And it was an easy result. It was just easier to move forward in the game without her. So yeah.
It's kind of how we see Sneaky Stevie going in Heroes versus Villains, where George isn't sure that he can rely on it, and it's kind of a similar dynamic there right before that merge.
Yeah, which just shows you've got to be able to lock in with someone. You've got to be able to say, "Yep, I'm 100% in." That wishy-washiness kills you in those coming into the merge.
Yeah, it's sad we lost two icons at the same spot 2 seasons in a row, and Stevie and Kelli. All right, well, unless there's anything else, I believe that is going to be the end of part 1. So that is the pre-merge. And from when you are all listening to this, we will have the post-merge a few days later. So, we will see you all next time on the Tribe of Nerds.